Hey, good evening. It is Friday again. It's April 5th, 2019, and been a good week. I think we had a few people that were going out to fly this week, and so hopefully they'll come in and tell us about that. And we also have a couple of people in the YouTube already. I've already communicated with one of them. That was Jack Snavely was the first to jump in, so he gets the first visitor prize for tonight. And so hopefully we will have a good crowd and be able to go pretty late. And I think Mike was going to go flying. Seems like a couple of other people. And guess who else went flying? I went flying yesterday and actually flew some Pampa stunts. I did not do a full pattern, but I didn't just mess around with lazy eights. I went ahead and flew loops and squares and wing overs and all that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about that too. It's been 2 years since I actually got out and flew anything akin to a stunt pattern. Couldn't fly the whole pattern, but hey, it's a start. Hey, Jamie Holford, I see is out there. Come on, Jamie, click in your camera and come on in with us, and we'll uh, we'll get some conversation going Friday night so we can chill. Hopefully, none of you have to get up to go to work too early tomorrow, and we can have one of our epic Friday night episodes. And I'm officially ready for hot weather now. Somebody gave me a new electronic fly swatter. Let's see, push the button, boom, the charge light comes on, and it actually stays charged. I just tested it, and it's now charged up and will stay that way for at least 10 minutes. I came back and stuck a pair of scissors in it to make contact between the inner and the outer grids, and it popped pretty hard. Not as full as when you clobber a fly with the light lit. It gets the full effect. I haven't ever measured that, but I suspect it's probably somewhere around 20 to 25,000 volts. Is a pretty solid whop. I've stuck my finger in it before, and I did it on here too, in front of the camera when I got my first one of those 2 years ago at the dollar store. They had a case of them, a couple of cases of them, and they were about $1 each. And I wish I'd bought the whole case because now the same thing's gone up. I think you can get them for $10 at Lowe's, and I think somebody gave me that for my birthday. My son's wife gave that to me for my birthday, and I think she paid about $5 for it. So you can still get variations on that from Amazon at all kinds of different prices. You can probably pay $100 for one if you really want to. You probably find that on eBay. But so anyway, welcome to the show, and all you guys out there on YouTube, thanks for coming in so soon. We got Jack and we got Jamie. That's all we got so far. But yeah, I appreciate the donations we've been getting. Y'all been clicking that super chat $ down at the bottom pretty well occasionally, and that's great. I get a little contribution to my hobby budget, and Sparky gets the lion's share for his um, server fees and video equipment. And you know the routine. I tell you every night. Helps keep the show on and helps keep the show free. And so, as long as we're using this, hopefully YouTube will see fit to not turn off Hangouts. We've heard rumors about that, but so far they've left us on. So the more we do, maybe the more rope they'll give us. And so anyway, I don't have any big news. Had a good time at the flying field yesterday. I flew my intermediate Death Star, and it's a sweet flying plane. It's a big flapless stunt trainer, I guess you would call it. It looks kind of like a Kiyosaki in its shape and its numbers. The wing, I think, is about the same size, except it's a solid foam wing, and the distance from the wing to the stab is about the same as a Kiyosaki. It might be a rugged RST rugged street trainer. That might be what that plane's based on. I can't remember. Wayne built the plane, and I helped him when it came to the decals and all that stuff. But he built it for us to use back several years ago when we were both trying to graduate from intermediate, and he flew it, and he never did. He never did go to fly advanced because he always got tagged with judging. And now he's since I've been out of the game, he's competing with sailplanes, and so we're going our different ways on contest days. In fact, he's up in North Carolina at a sailplane event this weekend, and he flies full size ones too. He flew a two-seater yesterday. First time in 25 years he's been up with sailplane, but I'd fly with him. He's a good pilot. I think he's a smart guy. He's got a great attention span, and he's quick thinking. So I think he's got all the attributes it takes to be a good pilot. And of course, he was he worked for the FAA for years. He was a accident investigator, so knows all the ins and outs of airplanes. And so good for him. I miss him when it comes time to fly control line, but I got some other flying buddies, and we still talk on the phone about it. And hopefully, he can get out and fly. We're talking about trying to set a few dates between now and May, and so I got one day under my belt. It was a little shaky. I was exhausted when I finished, but I flew the tank out, and nothing but the wheels touched the ground, and ran the tank out. Did some stunts, and like I said, I was exhausted when I got through, but it's a start, and so I got to get my balance back, and got not but 3 weeks until the contest. So I don't know if I'm going to be ready or not. And speaking of the contest, David Phelps just dropped in. Hey, David, and David's going to be at Huntersville with us. Looking forward to meeting you in person, David. And so that's big fun. My friend that I flew with yesterday is Mike Lindler, and his father, Carl. Carl's the pit man and Mike's the pilot, and he flew a time machine yesterday, which is a unusual looking plane, but it's a 46 size. He's got an LA 46 in it. Got a beautiful run. Always do with 46s, and that's what I was flying in the Death Star yesterday too. It's got an LA 46, and so let's see. Jackson Avley's posting. Sounds like a great flight. All fun and no repairs. Yeah, didn't have to bag any bits and pieces to bring the plane home, so that's always a success. Excuse me, a success. I did not have enough stamina left to do any more flying because if it had been a calm day, it would have been different. But it was a gusty, twisty, windy day. Lots of unpredictable thermals in the sky, twisting and turning, and the wind changed direction completely. It switched up completely about 3 times while I was flying, and I flew pampa shaped square loops, round loops, figure eights, square eight. Did a wing over, but with my neck, like I said last week, my neck's causing me more problem than anything right now, and I didn't want to exacerbate that. So my wing over was like 70 degrees high, maybe, but I did do a reverse wing over. And flew it on out. I started getting really tired, and so I broke into some lazy eights just to run the fuel down. And about the time it was starting to get behind me and ahead of me, and I was feeling like I wasn't going to be able to hang on if it didn't hurry up and run out of gas. And thank goodness it hurried up and ran out of gas. And I came around to land it and flew it right into a headwind coming down when it was about 4 feet off the ground. And it just stopped dead. I've never had a plane just stop dead into a headwind and sat there until the wind died. And I was trying to step back to catch the lines and get them tight, which I kind of did and kind of didn't. I had a little bit of tension, and the wind kind of settled for a second, and the plane just settled down on the ground and went plop with one bump. So let's call it an 11-point landing, but the best thing I did was a really nice takeoff. So glad to see I can still do something. Nothing else I did was pretty, but hey, just keeping it in the air was an accomplishment. Like I said, it's been 2 years. And Dennis Adamison is in with us. Hey, Dennis, glad to see you out there. And if there's anything I can do to help you get in with your camera and microphone, let me know, and we'll uh, we'll see if we can get you hooked up. Gary Sinclair and Pat Kennedy just dropped in with us. I hope it was okay to say your last name, Pat. That just kind of slipped out. Pat's place, and Pat's a plastic static modeler. He showed me some pictures, and if you looked at it out of context, for instance, he showed me a Ferrari and a couple of other cars that he did. You would not know that it was not a real car. I mean, he had the door swung open. You could see the seats, the instruments, and everything inside. It looked just like a real Ferrari that somebody had left the door open and took a picture of it. Just beautiful work. And it got me thinking about the P-51 Mustang plastic Revell kit. I think is a Revell kit I've got on my shelf. I've had it out there for 15 or 20 years that I'd love to put together someday. Let's see. Dennis says, tried loading chrome and it threw sand threw sand in his face. Here, let me let Jamie in. He's coming in on video. Just a second, and I'll get back to Dennis. And come on, try another click. Come on, Jamie. Okay, Jamie, you're in as soon as you turn your mic on. Well, Dennis, I'm sorry. The next suggestion I have is to see if your app store has a Google Hangouts app. That might allow you to get in with Safari or whatever it is that you've got on your Mac, and might do the job. I know Bob Hunt comes in with a Mac, and if he drops in, and he hadn't been in a couple of weeks, but if he comes in here tonight, I'll ask him what he's done to get in, and if not, I'll call him and ask him, and at least let you know maybe next week and see what it is, because I know we can get you in here with a Mac, because you're not the only one that uses it. But yeah, just type tonight, and we'll have a good hangout. And I do my best to keep your guys' conversation mixed in with what's going on over here. Sometimes it gets a little ahead of me, so if you type something and it takes me 15 or 20 minutes to get to it, the way some of these guys jabber, it's hard to get a word in edgewise. So I'll work it in when the time's right. And let's see. Pat says, yeah, it was okay to tell y'all his last name. So Pat, the plastic modeler, who got me fascinated with building something out of plastic now, is here with us. And let's see. Dennis A says, just a Windows PC with Edge. Yeah, and Edge is a proven failure with Hangouts. I believe that was true at one time, and I have no reason to believe that Edge still doesn't work very well. I was thinking you had a Mac. Somebody, sorry if I get y'all confused. I got a lot of people that email me, and I forget what system you have. So what you got on the table tonight there, Jamie? Oh, never mind. It looked like it's a flight streak. I can barely see it. Let me click on it. Big.
Yeah, it's a flight streak that I did my combat video with. And try to finally recover it after, hell, I don't remember, almost 2 months ago when I flew it and crashed it and finally repaired it. Took forever to get that old junky monocoat off of it.
Flight streaks are great. That's when I was flying half A and I first built flight streak, that was the baby flight streak. It was the first time in all of my flying half A days that I really felt like I was flying a real airplane, because the way it responded, the way it glided, the way it rolled out and took off. And okay, Sparky says he'll turn his mic on when the cutter finishes. So Anyway, well, welcome, Jamie. Hope we'll get some. Mike, I think, is going to come in and tell us about flying this weekend, and I'll talk more. I'll talk more about my expedition to the flying field yesterday. I got out there and flew some stunts. Didn't do a full pattern, but I also didn't fall down, and I also didn't wreck the plane. And I did run the fuel out before the plane landed. And it was a blustery, windy day, and so I had to work with that too. But that's probably fine because it'll certainly be windy when we all go to our respective contests. And if I'm going to practice, I might as well practice in the wind.
Check out these two little boogers I got last weekend. A Torpedo 15 and a 09.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've got a Torpedo 29 and a 30 something, I think. Are those exhausts on the, yeah, exhaust on the wrong side?
Yeah, that's the 29 right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Exhaust. All of those torpedoes have the exhaust like that, don't they?
Yeah. But I got this Max S30 right here. I'm going to be selling that one, getting rid of that one.
Yeah, I've never had one of those. I got a couple of Max S35s. Fred in Texas, Lampasas, Texas, Fred Von Gortler sent me a couple of Max S35s. So I got two good ones and a parts engine, and I think the parts engine's fine too.
Speaking of Fred, this is what he sent me a while back.
Oh, really? Fred sent you that?
That, and
I bet that's something Jeff Dawson cut.
And I forget.
Oh, here comes Dennis. Hang on, let me let Dennis Adam listen in. Hang on, Dennis. I'm almost got you. There you go. Oh, here comes Dennis. Hang on, let me let Dennis Adam listen in. Oh, you got YouTube going in the background. Mute your YouTube page, and we'll get rid of that feedback. No, Dennis, I'm almost got you. Hey, Dennis, how you doing?
Okay, I think.
Sounds good.
I got a face that only should be seen on radio, though.
Hey, we can outdo you.
Yeah, in a perfect place now.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, it's a wing, the whole plane. I got the elevator and all that stuff, and an ASP 25 he had sent me as well.
Oh, that ASP is a pretty quick little engine, isn't it?
I have yet to use it, but I guess he intends me to mount it on that combat plane.
Can you wait before you put it away? Hold that ASP up and let me get a close look at it. I've never seen. Okay. Let's look. Oh, that's a good picture. Yeah. All right. So it's not it's a ball bearing engine. I didn't realize that. So it's twin ball bearings. Okay. That ought to be a hot little rocket.
Oh yeah. I mean the fly streak with the Stunthangar Pro 25 it's pretty quick with a 8.5 prop on it. I can only imagine with that ASP with I think he said a 9.5 or 9.4 to run it on. But
you might want to start with a 9.4 just to get the feel of it, because it's going to be really fast.
Yeah, that's going to be a totally different monster there compared to a flight streak.
Yeah. Yeah, when I went out and flew yesterday, I realized right away that I'm not ready to put the Super Satan up with that Fox X 36 on it. I would not be able to keep up with it until I get my balance back.
Yeah. But also got a McCoy Redhead 35 as well over the weekend, which I may keep it, I may not, because I got a McCoy 29 Lightning Bolt Redhead that I'm for sure keeping. That I'm going to use on a Barnstormer.
Okay, Steve Hines is dropping in. Let me let old Steve in. We're getting a pretty good crowd tonight. Hey, Steve, open
Hey,
your mic and we'll have you on. We
Man,
got,
you let anybody in here, don't you?
yeah, just about. I thought you two guys know each other. So, where are you, Dennis? Are you in the same area as Steve?
What are we, Steve? About 200 miles apart. You're up around Grand Rapids. I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
it's, well, on the expressway, I can make it there in a little about 2.5 hours, I think.
Yeah,
2.5 hour drive.
yeah. So,
I got back from Toledo.
did you go there today?
Yeah, yep.
And
Yeah, so that was wasn't a lot. It was a lot smaller than normal. The swap was bigger. I ended up getting stuff that I wanted, and I got me a new
McCoy?
McCoy 35 Rocket. It's brand new, and that was one that I wanted to change out with um, the ring piston out of the Series 21 testers, and then found a 40 Rocket 40. And what was crazy is Jeff Truxler found a Series 21 brand new in the box 40 for $10. So I'm gonna push that one over. That one only paid 25 bucks for. The other one paid 35, which a little bit more than I want. I mean, 45 was more than I wanted, but it's brand new. So I know the bearing and stuff is good, and figure that'll go in an old time or whatever. Just put it in.
All right, Steve. It seems like you know McCoy's pretty well. This is your basic old 35 redhead.
Yeah.
Okay. Shockingly, it has good compression. I just found out.
Those have an iffy reputation about the quality of the metallurgy, don't they? It seems like I've heard a lot of stories about some of them only lasting for one flight, but I don't know if that's because people weren't using enough oil in them or what.
Well, I've been told that if you take a brand new one and break the edge of the piston where it's sharp, that the things will run for a long time. Is or they made it with it being that sharp like that. If it gets hot one time, it'll swell up and just peel material off the cylinder or whatever, and it ruins them.
yeah,
And I've talked to guys that had them for 20 years and run them, and they said, but they always pull them apart brand new and take a file or sandpaper or something and just round that really super sharp edge off. And it says it doesn't hurt the compression or anything, but if it would run hot.
This engine's got a ring on it or not?
No, these are that some kind of steel.
yeah. They're iron piston engines. One of the other problems with the McCoys, especially when they got to the 40, they kept increasing the bore, so the cylinders got really, really thin. And the 29s and 35s weren't nearly as bad, but the 40s, they had absolutely no tolerance for a hot run. If if you never lean or anything like that, they'd be all right. But if you got some dirt or something, the thing ran lean or something like that, the engine was usually toast. So the 29s and 35s, I don't know how many hundreds of flights I had on my 35s and my Ringmasters, but it never really had any durability issues. I always thought a McCoy 35 redhead on a Ringmaster was a match made in heaven.
Really?
And a 10.6 Grish Tornado yellow nylon prop. I don't know why they seem to run better on a nylon prop than anything else. So
I got a couple of those yellow tornado props. Bob Zambelli gave me just a whole box full of old props he didn't want anymore, and
Yeah.
There's a pretty eclectic assortment in there, and I think I do have a few of those that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd be a little afraid to use those now because they go bad with age.
I agree too.
There haven't been a tornado prop made in what 20, 25 years, but
yeah, they kind of degrade their structure.
yeah, they like dry out, get brittle and nasty and everything else. So
I got that 29 right there.
yeah, the lightning bolts are the last ones.
I got a Rocket 29, and we put that on a plane we pulled a Fox 35 redhead off from. And I swear to God, that 29 had more. That damn engine runs so good, and just pull that airplane around like nothing. I think it was on a old flight streak.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is with them is the muffler. Well, Randy Ryan was showing me how he makes a tongue muffler for it, and I'm going to try it.
Hmm.
And,
Hey Bob, I recognize that muffler.
huh?
Storic just held up a muffler I recognized.
No.
Back at our July meeting, Watt Moore gave me a brand new Brodak Flight Streak kit, and I think I've got one of those extra Max S35s. I think I'm going to put that on the Flight Streak. I wonder what kind of combination that'll be, because it came, I think it was originally designed for the Fox 35, wasn't it? I think that Max S will fill those. Fill that job pretty good.
I have a Max S30, and they said that was a really good motor too. But I've never used it on anything. Yeah. But I
remember the shoestring I brought out to Huntersville in April when y'all were out there. That was a Max S35 on it. Of course, I had kind of a lean run that day by accident, but that's usually a good engine.
The OS35s, everybody loved them. I want to build a Ringmaster and everything, and then I'm going to throw probably that 35 or one. They said that if you take and put that other piston in there, it's an aluminum piston with a ring, that you got a 40 also.
This was the blue head. Is the Venturi supposed to be that short?
No,
that was the RC.
The blue head was an RC motor.
Okay.
Well, that might be a fine thread needle in it, since the Venturi's missing for a bladder.
I mean, well, it's got the needle valve assembly, but no needle. And that's that 30S RC that I got.
Oh, okay.
You tell that somebody did some fun with that Venturi there.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be pretty to work.
No.
Yeah.
Can you hold up that very first 35 you had, the one with the dark head and stuff like that? Can you hold that one up again? I wanted to just take a peek straight at the top of the head. And look straight at the top of the head. Okay, that looks like the glow plug is right in the center.
Yeah.
That would make it an early series. That's probably a really good engine. Later engines, they moved the glow plug off center and stuff like that, and they made a couple other things. But the ones with the plug on the center, yeah, okay. Like Steve's holding up one where it's off center. The lion's share of them were made like that, but some of the early redheads were made with the plugs on center, and they seem to be a little bit better. That was before they made, the 595 engine and all that kind of stuff. The low price engine had the offset plug, but the one in the center was an even older one, and it was they were generally a little bit better. I'd say you're probably going to be okay with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I just checked the compression, and surprisingly, it's fairly good.
Yeah, sometimes I'm a lot. I just want to get me a Ringmaster for the Ringmaster Roundup and throw a damn motor on it like they used to have, and a bit of fun.
Oh, here comes Mike Lonsky. Let me let our boy in.
Know anybody that could use a Thunder Tiger GP25 brand new in the box?
I thought that's the ones you like so much.
It is, except I like the 25 Pros. That's the ones I like.
Oh, the ball bearing in it.
The ball bearing. This one is plain bearing. It's just, you know, it's so I actually have no use for this thing. I mean, when I say brand new, it is never seen fuel.
That'll make it
Yeah, that's pretty.
slow combat motor if you can do some slow combat.
Well, I mean, I got a couple of 25 FPs, you know, so I hate to ruin a good brand new motor.
Yeah.
That somebody else could actually benefit from. Because I also have, and this is a funny little thing here. I got it from a guy on Stunthangar. Said, "Oh, I got a brand new Thunder Tiger Pro 25. You know, yada yada, this much. All right, cool. I bought it. Lo and behold, it's a Magnum Pro 25. But I mean,
Hold it up.
That's a good little motor too. That's a copy of
That's not the same as a Thunder Tiger 25.
no, it's not exactly the same. I mean,
Well, the Thunder Tiger 20, my Thunder Tiger Pro 25 has got the sprinkler Venturi on it.
yeah. I mean, that's what mine has. I mean, you could just outright see the differences in the cases.
Well, yeah. If you hold that up to a OS, that Magnum, you'll see how that front port is towards. It's not in the front, but towards the front.
Yeah, kind of like the FPs.
Yeah, it's just a copy, so they don't have to put clips on the wrist pin. It's got the little plastic things that go on there. So, you know, they turn that exhaust port around towards the back. It's like half side exhaust, half rear exhaust.
Let me get off topic for a second because we got a question from Minnesota Mike on YouTube. He's got a buddy that died from cancer, and he had a bunch of outdated remote control helicopters, and he's asking, what do we think is the best place or the best way to try to sell those? He's going to try to get rid of him and get the estate some money back. So anybody got any idea where you'd go to sell a RC helicopter?
RC club that has guys who fly helicopters, and let them see them, and they'll tell them what they're worth. You know, a lot of the old stuff is, you know, they still make them, you know, today. The same thing. If they got, you know, the aluminum frame and all that kind of stuff. It's just that the new one's got a different kind of head on it where they don't use a gyro. They use something else. But the other ones had like these little blades that turned out there that made the prop work. And the new ones are done different. And I can't think what that's called on them.
Yeah. If our buddy David Fountain, otherwise CD Bandit would come on, he could probably answer that question.
Yeah.
But we hadn't seen him in about a month.
That or depending on the location where he's at, say like near the Vegas area, Dane Martin would be somebody good to get a hold of because he's messing with them helicopters and whatnot.
Yeah, actually, Mike's in California right now, Clovis, California.
Yeah, so it'll be a deal to where it's radios. If they're real old, the radios aren't worth anything, or you know, the servo still may be good, but the receiver and stuff won't be. Everything's all 2.4 gig now. All that's pretty much changed. But yeah, a lot of them helicopters are just as good as the ones made today.
Terry Forbes suggests go to RC Universe in the for sale section. Yeah, okay. Mike read that about the same time I was saying it. He thanked him for that information. Yeah. And hey, Mike Lonke, what you got going on? You go flying?
I did. I'm going to keep working here because I want to finish up this.
Or what?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're a little quiet.
Turn your mic up a little bit, Sparky.
I have no way to turn it up. It's on that end.
Oh.
I can do that. Okay, hang on just a second.
Yeah, RC Universe. That's what I said, but my microphone was.
Oh, there we go. Now I hear you good.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I got you turned all the way up now.
Yeah, if not RC Universe, RC groups, I find that one to be way more active than RC Universe. But I mean, some people prefer being on RC Universe over RC groups for whatever reason. But I mean, both are good though.
Hey, Dennis, have you ever heard of Scorpion batteries?
I have not. But the Scorpion motors were taken over by a new company, and maybe they had their own battery line, and maybe they just transferred it over.
Oh, okay. Because the guy there that he offered sponsor Samantha with batteries or whatever she needs for flying.
Free stuff, go for it.
What's that?
Free stuff, go for it.
That's it. Aside from being jealous, I'd say go for it. So,
You know, so I never heard. We'll see how good they are. He sent me one with a 6 cell, but it's a 75C and it's for a drone because I guess they really beat on batteries, but it weighs 16 ounces, so it's too heavy. But nice looking battery. But he said that
the high C batteries tend to get heavier and stuff like that, but usually the drone batteries are a little lighter though too, because they don't put heavy casings on them or anything. But you have to find out their product line. If they got something in the 35C range, they might be better off.
Well, the other thing he was saying too is, he was asking, well, what does Control Line use for batteries? And it's like
anything that's free.
Yeah. Well, 4 cells, 5 cells, 6 cells, some 3 cells. But what he was saying is that since they make the batteries, that if you wanted like a 2200 pack of 6 cells, he could do that. Where no one else is making them, he could kind of, for Control Line, make up. If you didn't need a 2800 milliamp pack.
Yeah, I think all of the cells come. It's not a technology. It's on everybody's doorstep or anything like that. I think all the packs come out of probably 2 or 3 factories. I don't think there's a lot of difference there. There is a lot of when they start stacking them up and packaging them and offering them with different power connectors and balance connectors. That's where the action is. But in the batteries that we arranged for Rodak and stuff like that, we've received advertisements where they'll show off a 3-cell pack, and I'll say, well, I like the size of those batteries. Can you make it a 4-cell? That's how we got those 3600s that you and Sam are using in the Vector. They offered, they sent us a price list that had it with 3 cells, and said, well, that's fine, but I don't need 3 cells. I need 4, and they said, well, that's fine. Here you go. So. But yeah, they just stacked up what we needed. So
yeah, I didn't realize that. That's what even like I was talking to Thunder Power there, and he was saying all the batteries come as single cells.
Yeah.
To them from China. So you didn't say where, but it's from China. And then they stack them, they wrap them, put the leads on them, do all that. But he said too is that they don't. When you order something from them, it's when they make it. They're not like on a shelf where they pick them. Because he said that the single cells unhooked with nothing last a long time. Once you wire them all together and stuff like that, they'll start deteriorating. But he said even then it's like 2 to 3 years. But he said single cell not done, they don't deteriorate or something. So they keep them that way until you order a battery, and then they make them at that time. Must be like probably the same thing with Brodat. You put in order, they start making them.
Yeah, I would think anybody making batteries is probably doing something. And the deterioration he must be talking about, it must be something in the welding where they start connecting all the tabs from the different cells, and You get dissimilar metals coming together, and they get them all welded together. And so, oh my goodness, we got us a new little modeler there.
Ah.
So,
Grab the handle, start flying Dad's airplanes.
that's it.
Come on, Shelby. Can you say vector?
Looks like she's ready to flip it for you there. So.
Yeah.
Hey, sweetie.
Oh man. Oh, Mike is going to show us how busy he is.
Weekend.
Yeah. So Dennis, what's your favorite part of control line? Is it engines or fly and stunt or fly and other aspects of control line? What do you like to do the best?
Well, I got out of engines and into electric, so I guess I can't say that engines are my favorite thing. But now that I'm into electric, I'm having a blast with it because one thing I like about electric is the fact that no matter what size power system I need, I can get a perfect run out of it. And it's anywhere from like a half a or less than half a, like a sword. I got a Swordsman 18 with a little tiny motor on it, and it runs perfect. It doesn't, I don't mess around with engines or anything like that. Put it in perspective, when I was flying RC, my number one favorite RC was sailplanes with no engines.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not a motorhead to begin with. But,
Yeah, my flying buddy got into airplanes lately.
And then with Stunt with the electric, now we can basically take the engine out of the equation as an area of concern. And it doesn't matter how big it is. It's like, within a couple of flights, I can get the right RPM, the right settings, and then I'm just concentrate on flying the airplane.
Yeah.
I like designing things, and actually one of the things I was going to show off a little bit. I've been doing electric conversions for Brodak, and I don't know if you can see that very well. This is one I'm working on.
Yeah, we got a good look at it.
Yeah, it's
a little bit higher.
It will. You see that?
There you go.
It's going to be for a flight streak trainer, and it's going to be right now. It's just rubber banded together. It's basically a plywood box that'll be installed. Cut a slot in the profile fuselage and install this box. And this is the one I made a little note on it in the electric forum earlier today. I don't know if you can see this plate right here. The motor is going to mount to this plate.
Hold it up.
To float, it's going to be rubber banded to the forward, and it's going to float and hopefully give a little bit of energy absorption if the thing in a crash or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that's the intent for that. And I don't know, maybe we can make some kind of a trainer package.
How's John?
How's John?
Yeah.
I haven't talked to John in ages. I've been able to text his wife, and she says he's recovering. He had a real bad abscess in his throat, and he was on some real hardcore meds for a long time, and he just got rid of his PICC line, I guess, last week, and he started getting better. He was hospitalized, but while he was there, he finally accepted a feeding tube. He hadn't been eating anything. I don't know if you guys know John Brodak. He had lost, I had heard that he had lost 55 pounds. John Brodak, he didn't have 55 pounds to lose. It's simple. And so even now, I guess he's back up to like 155, which is still awfully thin for that man. I understand he did just have his 80th birthday, and I didn't know that, but I just heard about that from somebody else. So
congratulations, John.
Yeah, that's it.
I talked to Jan Friday.
Uh-huh.
She said last week he finally came to the shop there, or the factory. And
he did. Okay.
And so, but I guess he's been there 2 times now, so he is getting a little stronger. So that's
he had not been to the shop starting about like October or November or something like that. He hadn't been there through very recently, and Jan said they hadn't seen him or anything like that. And he was very weak, and I guess he just didn't want people to see him, know what kind of shape he was in and stuff like that. And well, if he's getting out and about, that's a good sign. That's a hell of a sign.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let me
Love
give
it.
as long as we're talking about people's health, let me give a shout out to Will Davis. He might very well be watching us because he watches most of the shows, and he's probably going to be in the hospital a few more days, but he's on the upside now. He had abscesses on his liver, and they identified the bacterial bug that got him, and so they're targeting it with antibiotics, and they had to drain a bunch of fluid from his lungs, and he feels a lot better now. I think that was a really painful undertaking, but after they got all the fluid off, he's breathing easier and voice sounds good from people that have told me they talked to him. I've been texting him every day just to check on him, but I don't want to call because afraid I'm going to either wake him up or interrupt doctors and nurses that are in there. So he looks like he's on the mend, and it's probably he's going to be weak for a while. He talks like he's going to be CD in the contest in Huntersville first weekend in May, and him and Mark kind of co-CD the Triple Tree stunt contest last weekend to Joe Knoll, and he seems to think he's going to be up for that. So I hope hope he gets a lot of help because I'm a veteran of hospital stays, and I know that it takes a while to recover. So good luck, Will. Get better.
I'm hoping Will must be doing at least a little better because he wrote me a note earlier. I think it was just earlier today. He says, "Hey, what are you going to do with Brodak? How are you going to help us out there?" So he was if you will, recruiting me to help out there and whatever. So I didn't even realize he was still in the hospital, when he sent the note. So I'd say that must be a pretty good sign. He's there, rounding up volunteers and stuff like that. So yeah, Will's good people, and I'm hoping whatever
Yeah,
that is, I hope gets that thing beat.
it sure is. Yeah, I think they got it under control now. So
Yeah.
just
Saying it right though, it's Wheel.
Will. Yeah, well, say it in North Kakalaki.
Yeah, Wheel Davis.
No.
Yeah, Dennis, I thought you were going to say your favorite thing was having people call you up and say, "Hey, can you CAD me out a FD11 front end that I can put on a Stars and make all this work and
Yeah.
send it off?"
And I do try answering questions for Brodak and stuff like that. There's a lot of folks, obviously, new to electric, and it's a real scary thing when you look at it and all you see is dollar signs and stuff. You don't know that A goes with B and stuff. And we've tried setting things up to try to make it as straightforward as possible, but still, that little TLC doesn't hurt. And yeah, I'm still waiting. There's some guy and his daughter up in Michigan. Designed a really neat little electric install for them, and they never even finished the damn thing. Last I heard. So.
It's just about ready to paint.
All right.
You want to see it?
No, why not? What the heck?
Yeah. I'll show you what she's got so far.
Yeah. No, just teasing Steve on that. I was able to get some parts made up. I started doing some CAD work, and it's really a lot of fun. I can design things that are basically square and flat. So, so things like the conversion packages are pretty good. The not into the 3D modeling and stuff like that. That's something I need to be picking up on, but it's not there yet. So.
And you got another brother. You got a brother that's a modeler, right? Dennis?
Well, the whole clan was. They had 3 brothers. We're all, and my sister. We're all flyers.
And hobby shop. Y'all had a hobby shop too, right?
No, we did not have a hobby shop.
Oh, I don't know why I thought that.
I told you they work
I think the hobby shop used to come to us for supplies sometimes, but no, Dad worked for General Motors, but as we call them, Generous Motors. There was an awful lot of, shall we say, there was a lot of Detroit iron ended up in his basement, and it was a lot of things got made.
Yeah. And Art was your dad, is that right?
Yeah, my dad was big art, whatever, and so.
Rusty was
Get Dennis.
getting
Hey, all right.
last week
There's
about you guys working at Joe's hobby shop.
how you hatch.
Yeah, I worked at Joe's, and yeah, Mike, of course, you got Detroit background there, so you know all about Joe's Hobby, all the stores and
That's
stuff
why
like
I think Rusty got confused, because a couple weeks ago I was telling him how I used to take the Tireman bus down there to buy glow fuel and props and glow plugs and stuff. I was 10 or 11 years old, and I remember you working there.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a great hobby shop, man.
Oh, it
Joe's
sure was. It was a blast. By the way, I found a history of the Detroit Aero Modelers Club.
I found that too, man. It's online somewhere. You know, my father was a charter member. He was a founding member of that club.
Well, I remember you telling me that, and that's why I thought you'd get a kick out of that. So you already seen it. I guess I won't bother sending it to you. But
yeah, I don't have a print copy, but I did read it. I found it on the web somewhere. I was researching Detroit Aero Modelers, and my dad, he was a safety officer there from the time the club was founded till his death in '85.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course,
Charles Carter just joined us. Hey, Charles.
They flew out
Hey,
of
everybody.
many years before Detroit Modelers was founded. They used to fly free flight and all back there even earlier than, I think 72 or 73 is when the club was AMA chartered, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right. They were forming up about the time I started at Joe's, and I started there in 1970, I think it was. So.
Hey, Dennis, for new members, I always give a mini tutorial on here when you are watching. If somebody pulls something up that you want to be able to see what they've got, click on their little film strip picture at the bottom, just single click it, and a white border will develop around it. And while you've got that highlighted, they've got the priority screen on your computer, and you can see them in a big picture. So if somebody's looking at an engine, showing you an engine or something, you can click on that. And when you're through focusing on them, you click on it once more and they'll go back to normal. And you can click on anybody else and give them the priority screen.
Okay, that's good to know. Thanks for that.
Oh, by the way, when you got in, it was right after I had told you to try downloading the Hangout app. Is that what got you to be able to use your camera?
I went back and I was able to reopen the browser. It was asking about my Google account and all that kind of stuff. So I basically had to sign into the Google account.
Yeah, that's right. You do.
All that. And
I need to remind people.
The thing just popped right up, and
great.
It was super simple. So
yeah, I get to remind people they do need to be logged into their Google account. So
what happened to the rudder of that airplane, Steve?
Huh?
What happened to the rudder on that airplane?
That's the one that Samantha designed. She wanted a sub rudder and not as much rudder sticking up that'll roll the airplane in windy weather.
All right.
A fishtail.
Yeah, sub rudders are an interesting look.
It's
Did
different.
you see that the one that Alan Goff just posted a week or so ago? He had built I guess it was an old design from his buddy Roger, and who we lost last year. And Alan built the design, and it's got a little sub rudder on it too. It gives it kind of a balanced look. So.
Well, she always complained about windy weather. She can feel that airplane rolling on her.
Mm.
You know, grab it and want to roll the airplane away from her.
Yeah.
You know, and she says it'll actually, the wind gust hits it and rocks it, and she's got to try to time her turns and stuff on squares. You know, when it's coming back or going over or whatever. So
Mhm.
she's like, I don't like it when it does that when in windy weather. So I said, well, we can build a sub rudder on it. So that's kind of what she came up with and cut down on how much rudder altogether, because that one airplane that Bob Hunt made, it didn't have a rudder on it.
Oh, the Genesis?
Yeah, the Genesis. You know, he said it flew great. I guess he won the world championships with it and never had a rudder on it. So
Yeah. My friend Dave Sabon has one. He flies it all the time, and it looks like a good flying plane.
So I don't know. We'll see. It looks different, but that's Samantha. You know, she paints stuff pink and purple, and her stuff looks different than everybody else's. So,
Very cool.
but they know it's hers. But the whole thing ready to start covering 23 ounces.
That's outstanding. That was around what, 620 squares, was it? I forget where you ended up.
630 square inches.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good weight for that size.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
good.
you know, that's the front end that, you know, there's the if I can get it around here without putting many more dents in it. But I don't know if you guys can see how Dennis designed the battery
Yeah,
and this will be where the
ESC is. Yeah.
ESC is gonna go and stuff like that. And
Yeah, looks like you got that side hatch working really nice there. That's cool.
I got the side hatch all in and sanded it, you know, in place. So that worked out great. And you know, you cut in for the plug. So that's already on there, that makes that a whole lot easier. Yeah, it turned out super. And this little door, they're great. You got the magnets on it, but I'm just about the weight. So I think this thing's gonna go with the battery and stuff. I'm hoping for about 53 ounces.
Wow.
Wow.
Gonna monitor code it?
Yep.
JP from DC area says, "Hi, Dennis. So sorry to hear about Big Art. You and I have never met, but I knew your dad from the Nats, and I was a couple of years behind Archie in junior and senior. I'm a big fan of yours."
I appreciate the thought. He's been gone now. I guess it's going on a month, and it's hard. Still coming to grips with the reality of it. It's like, you know, you think, oh yeah, I'm going to check with Dad, and oh wait a minute, that's not
Yeah,
enough anymore.
you just
So,
feel like you ought to be walking through the door any minute.
yeah, well, that's it. I mean, he had been slowing down and everything like that, but ironically enough, one of his favorite times of the year is, and Steve knows this. We used to make an effort. We used to bring him into the Toledo show, and he'd camp out in John Brodek's booth. And I used to kid him about being there like a cigar store Indian or something like that, kind of sitting there in the corner, and man, just people coming by all the time, chatting with him. And of course, Brodak like that. There's a lot of people around the booth for that and everything like that. But
Yeah, every year Samantha sat there and talked to him, and
oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah, I won't be telling bullshit anymore.
That's it.
So, Dennis, what happened anyway? Did he have cancer or heart attack or?
He had been having a lot of physical issues. He was falling down a lot. And basically what happened in his last week, if you will, it was like on a Wednesday night, he took a fall in his bathtub. He was in assisted living. He fell in the bathtub, smacked the back of his head. And of course, everybody was worried, and they checked him out and everything. And well, he's okay. Well, Thursday morning, he's walking down to breakfast, and just as he got to the cafeteria, he passed out. So of course they took him in an ambulance, took him to the hospital, and had him checked out. And he was really dazed and confused all day Thursday. And Friday he seemed to get a little better, and then Saturday he started, he was on a slippery slope. And Sunday I went up to see him, and he was like 1 or 2 minutes. You'd be, kind of cognizant, and then he'd fade away for another 15 or 20 and whatever. And he was just in and out of it, whatever. wasn't eating, wouldn't eat, refused to eat. Tell you, put it in perspective, the hospital saying, okay, we need to basically discharge him in some kind of a rehab or environment. So Sunday night, the doctor come by and says, well, we shouldn't be talking about a rehab environment. We should be talking about discharging him into hospice because he wasn't able to take part in his own recovery yet anymore. And so the next morning, we talked to the lady from the hospice, and she goes, given his condition, I don't think we should be moving him at all because he's got anywhere from hours to a day, And so basically, that Monday is when we finally passed Monday evening, and it was just he wasn't there. He wasn't there all day Monday, shall we say? And they treated him basically like he would have been in hospice, and he was drugged up pretty good and everything like that. So he just passed, and had a room full of family and kids and grandkids and whatever else, and that was that. So basically, Steve, no, it wasn't a cancer or a specific illness or anything like that. It was 91, almost 92 years old, and the fact that he was, just basically had been going downhill for a number of years. So
Just died of old age, huh? That's well.
Well,
Hey, I'm
that's
glad he had a great run at life. I'm glad he went peacefully like that.
well, it's kind of one of the things we kept talking about and everything like that. Is that was one hell of a life, one hell of a life well lived, and any of us would be proud to be in that position when we reach that stage, if you will. You can look back and say, hey, this person did this and went there and knew this and whatever else. I'd be proud as hell to be in that, and if they could say those things about me when I got to be 91 years old too. So
kind of
Brought my dad to the Nats in '97 or in 2007. Did my dad and your dad talk? I can't remember.
remember your dad didn't he come was it to a Nats or FCM?
Nat.
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah.
With me. 11 and 07. Maybe it was 11, I guess.
Must have been 11. I wasn't there in 07.
My dad's 96. He's still kicking.
That's fantastic.
Well, I remember you had a red airplane there that year. He was there, and I can't remember what.
Nope, I had my red, white, and blue Continental.
Was the red, white, and blue Continental?
Yep.
Because I remember him being there, and Samantha met him and stuff. Well, Samantha started flying at 10. Yeah, it probably was 11 then. The first year we were at the Nats.
Hey guys, I'm sharing a picture of Art.
Oh,
You want to?
oh yeah.
That's from Brodak.
Exactly. I met you, and I met your dad in 2016. I also met Sparky there. But meeting your dad, and your dad really made me feel great. I mean, I came up on his blind side, and I got his attention. And I said, Mr. Adamson, I'd like to meet you. My name is Charles Carter. And he turned around, gave me the biggest smile, and such a warm greeting. I mean, I've had my wife's grandpa had equally as warming of a greeting as your dad, Dennis. Matter of fact, I have this picture on my screensaver. So I look at that all because I was so only met him one time, but I'm really fond of your dad. Really neat, kind gentleman.
He looks like a pretty cool guy.
Well,
I took that picture after I met him. The picture.
He'd go to places like say he used to love going to Toledo, but he used to love going to Brodak Fly-In for the week too. And like you say, Charles, he'd meet people he'd never met before and everything like that. And he was always the same with, he'd greet everybody with a smile and everything. So yeah, that's a great picture of him. So
yeah, I remember wasn't him and what was it, the Silver Fox? What the guy that did the Fox?
Lou, can't remember his last name. Lou.
Yeah,
Wooler.
Yeah, Silver Fox.
Silver Fox. Remember that
Wooler.
one year they were both there together, and weren't they both like 90 years old or something like that?
Yeah, they were like a year or two apart, and Lou was still flying at 91. What was it? I mean, he was still flying that old smoothie with the. I think he was 91 years old. I mean, that was awesome. So.
Yeah, I remember
when he comes down to the Broken Arrow contest, he'd bring his granddaughter, and he'd be out there hopping and jumping around like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun with it. You know, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You know, never seen Art at a contest or anything to do with airplanes where he wasn't happier than hell.
That's about it. Let's see. How am I doing this? Sorry for the rookie mistakes here. I've got a picture. How do I post a picture?
Okay, if you first open the picture in the background in your favorite picture viewer, and then go back to your video screen, and on the left, if you mouse over to the left, you'll see some icons appear. One of them is a green box with an arrow in it, and it's a screen share icon. And when you click that, you'll get an option to show, let's see, it'll say show the application window. So click on that and then click share, and we'll be able to see it. And we can all click on it and make it big. And then the YouTubers will be able to see it too.
All right.
You follow me on that?
Let's see.
Yeah. First open it in your favorite viewers and get it the size you want, and then you can go back to your video screen here and find that share icon on the left. And when you mouse over that way, they'll pop up.
Let's see. Tell you what, everybody, just keep chatting away here while I try to figure this out. And I'm gonna hold this up. Don't want to hold up the whole thing.
Yeah. You'll see the screen share icon appear when you mouse up over to the sort of top left area of the video screen and pick that green box with the arrow.
So
but anyway, what you working on so hard, Mike?
An RC plane for Samuel. It's this Astro Hog that we picked up at the swap meet a couple weeks ago. The motor on it was toast, so I found a Magnum 46 to put on it. I had to replace a couple of servos in there. Of course, I put a modern receiver in there, a Lemon receiver. We're going to run a Spectrum radio in it. And then in the wing, I had a bad servo in the wing. But this old SIG Astro Hog, if anybody's familiar with it.
I've heard of it.
I thought it was like a Super Sportster or something like that. But Steve straightened me out on it and told me it was an Astro Hog. And then I went and looked it up. But we got this at a swap meet for like $25 a couple weeks ago. So I'm just scrambling here to try to get it ready for tomorrow so we can go fly.
Right.
I tell you what, there were some hell of a deals there at Toledo this year on RC stuff. Oh my God.
Well, I heard you talking about it, Steve, when I first came in, and I'll tell you what, I looked last night on the map. I looked at the drive time because I was seriously considering leaving at midnight and driving all the way up to Toledo just to hit the swap meet this morning, and then come back tonight. It was 7.5 hours, a little too much.
They had the OPS 60 there, the gold-headed one. They still make it. This was an older one, but $80, brand new in the box. I mean, it's selling. Pardon me?
Rear exhaust?
Side.
Oh, the side. Yeah, the rear exhaust is the speed motor.
Yeah, this is the side exhaust. A pipe well, it's pipe time, but back when they used to lay the motors on the side on the pattern ships is when that came out. It was $200 and some motor back then, and it is, 260 something nowadays for $80. And they had that there. They had some YS and OS 4 strokes at good prices. Guy wanted $80 for Irving 60. But there was nothing, I was looking for that Irving 40 control line motor. I see he had a whole bunch of Irving stuff, but no control line stuff. But Truxler said that Rocket Man came in and bought, some guy had all kinds of motors, control line motors, everything. He bought all of them. One sweep. Emptied him right out. I'm like, you can go home now.
Who's Rocket Man?
For everything.
Rocket Man from eBay?
Yeah.
Rocket Man?
Yeah, Rocket Man.
Okay. I guess I don't know him.
He'll have a bunch of control line stuff probably on eBay.
Is there any combat stuff there?
I don't know. Jeff said that he didn't get to, that he went up there and he never even got to see what it was, that he scooped up probably 100 engines.
No kidding.
From this guy.
Did you run into Colombo or Paul Smith while you were there?
No, I didn't see them. I seen Sparky, Lenny. I can't think of his last name. Him and Naomi is his wife.
Burrell.
Yeah, he was there.
Terrific.
Where the other guys were, I didn't see none of them, but he was there and we talked for a bit. Some guys from Michigan, they were there today. Oh, who else? I've seen a few guys, and I'm trying to think now who all I did see. But we got there. We didn't get there till noon. Jeff was already gone because I did something in my hand, and it's the first time that there hasn't been a whole lot of wrinkles in my hand in a lot of years. But
Good night, guys.
hey, did you ever that thing that I was going to send you? You were going to try to get a copy of it. What the hell was it? It was a head of something like a fox. No, it wasn't a fox. Remember, he was going to send you a little round thing off of old.
Oh, Mike was, yeah. That was the Aries. No, I forgot to send him my address.
It's sitting right here on the table. So.
All right, I'll go right now and send you my address.
Okay.
Yeah, because it looks like you got all your masks made to start painting them, and then what? It's panel lines after that.
Well, tomorrow it'll get the numbers and some of the logos and stuff on it, the checkerboards, and a coat of clear, and then I'll bring it back and panel line it. But I can always add a piece in between. No big deal.
So it's going to be getting pretty close by the weekend, huh?
I can fly it right now, but if I wanted to get oil on it.
I mean, it'll be pretty close for you to start putting clear on it and start all your rubbing and polishing and.
Yeah.
By the way, somebody take a look. I can't see it myself right now. Do you see it?
Oh, there's your picture. Oh, you had it. There it is. And I've got it highlighted so the YouTubers can see it too.
All right. That's my dad on his 80th birthday.
All right.
His 80th birthday present was a ride in a Waco biplane. And the pilot asked him, "Oh, do you want to just sightsee or do you want to do some aerobatics?" And he goes, "Well, what do you think?" He just try to make him trick,
Where'd you do that at?
I just smiled, and he had a good old time. But I think that's one of my favorite pictures of him right there.
You do that at the name?
Where'd you fly the Waco at?
I'm not even sure. I believe it was somewhere out. It would have been Detroit area, but I'm not really sure.
Oh,
I wasn't with them that day or anything like that. I could find out.
I just wondered. I took Sammy up in one. We went in Waco in Sevierville in Pigeon Forge. Dollywood, Gatlinburg. There's one out there.
Yeah, this would have been. I'm guessing it might have been something like Adrian or something like that, kind of
Okay.
middle of the state there, middle southern part of it. But I'm really not certain.
This year at the net, Mike, you can take him up. There's a little airport right behind where the nest is at. And there's a guy there, I think, with a white coat. He does he'll take you up and do all kinds of different things. Palco went up. See you, Sparky. Palco went up and tossed his cookies and stuff, I guess.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I guess they take you on one hell of a ride.
Yeah, that don't scare me. I've done aerobatics in the pits and in a P-51 Mustang, so they can't shake me up. And I've jumped out of 2 Stearmans, so.
Yeah, you're the man.
JP.
What's up, Charles? We missed you last Monday, man. Where were you? Out flying, I hope.
Last Monday, I'm trying to remember what happened last Monday. It's a blur. But I missed you guys. I know I did.
Where's your glow driver?
Still in the car.
Better leave it there. You wouldn't want to forget it.
In my car.
God
Hey,
damn it.
I got an update from United States Postal Service. My 2 K-77s are in. Actually, they're leaving Queens.
Awesome.
So I expect it to be out here on the right coast probably sometime around next Wednesday.
Cool.
JP speaking to Dennis again. He says JP says, I think the Eclipse and the Orange Crate were way ahead of their time, and I love the Magister.
Well, thank you. The kind of funny. I got when we were cleaning out Dad's basement, the very last Eclipse I built, still there, and I'm looking at it. I'm trying to figure out how I can do some surgery on it, and shall we say, modernize the power system. And I did build one of my first purpose-built electrics was built on the same formula. And let me tell you, I'm a big fan of the high aspect airplanes in electric. I think they're really shining now. In my mind, it's really shining. The reduction in drag is very noticeable, and reduction in power you use. There's 2 ways to power up an airplane. You can put a great big old motor and great big prop on it and everything like that. You can power it up, but you can also power it up by reducing the amount of power that it takes to fly it. And if you can make it aerodynamically clean and light. We lost Sparky. I know that would get him going. Sparky's always big on lightweight airplanes, for good reason. You can get a power up that way too, and I think it really shines. I can actually measure and say, hey, this airplane is using less power, compared to a normal, if you will.
Well, that's
I'll get the Magister back too. So
that's with Samantha's new airplane here. It's a different type of tail. Things are going to be different. The body, we took the whole pipe tunnel off to get rid of side area. Looks a little different. And we're going to monocoat the wing and tail. Try to keep the weight way down. If I can get this into 53 ounces, it's going to be one hell of a flying airplane.
That's going to be almost a pound lighter than what she flew in France, isn't it?
Yes.
That's insane,
It's going to be less side area, less rudder, all that for the roll, and just the side area when it comes to flying in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to help her a lot on that, and we know she ain't going to get, a lot of points for the building, because it'll be monocoated, but I think she'll fly better.
Appearance points is for
appearance points.
Well, you do a neat job of monocoating. The appearance points won't hold her back any, and then the performance is going to come out of the fact that it's lighter weight. You got a chance to gain points in every single maneuver. Hey, how do I can't see the chat window on there. Is that the blue box on the left?
Oh, no, that's our internal chat box. What
Okay.
I'm looking at is on the YouTube watch page. So if you go over to YouTube where this video is playing, don't start the video, but there's 3 dots above the chat box. If you click those, there will be a selection to click on pop out
Okay.
chat, and then you can resize it, slide it over, and park it where you want it next to the video window. You got to kind of resize everything so it fits.
Okay. Okay. But
That's
that's
where all the
a different
YouTubers
window.
are.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, it helps me when you guys watch that too, because it's hard for me alone to keep up with the conversations and work them in, because they're not always exactly on topic at the same time. And I kind of try to include everybody, and sometimes they talk amongst themselves.
Yeah.
I got
Part
two
of the fact-
flight, motor scores in the last 3 days. One being a Sato 45 for like $65, which it's either a steal or it ain't a steal. And the other being a Sato 56 for $100.
More or less,
Go
but
ahead.
the valves went out of whack,
The
and
what?
good. So
Oh, the valves.
get rid of them, and all you got to do is just reset the lash and the valves. Because when they're brand new, they wear in, and within so many hours, you got to do that. These guys never do it. They get a crappy running 4-stroke, so they sell it for cheap. And a buddy of mine grabs them all the time and just resets the valve, or with YSs you got to do with that thing on the bottom of it. And the things run great, and sells them off, makes money on them, or keeps them himself. But yeah, it's usually just the valves seat in, and then they don't run well because there's no clearance there in the valves. It'll hold open the exhaust valve a little or whatever, and just doesn't run great.
Yeah, a buddy of mine uses a Sato 56 and a T-Rex and loved it, and it was quite the flying plane. It was nice, and I've been after the Sato 56 for months, but they're always way out of my price range. But I finally seen one today for $100. I just said screw it. I'll sell a new 46 LAFs to cover the cost. I don't care.
Hey Dennis, what was the name of the airplane you won the Walker Cup with?
That was the Fuga Magister, the red V-tail. I think somebody mentioned that earlier, but yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Because there was Sparky put a video deal, Dad's basement or whatever, and he was showing how to build mufflers, and he had your airplane hanging up there, and he said that that was the one that you won the Walker Cup with, but he didn't say what the name of it was.
Yeah.
So that was your design there too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Everything I ever flew in competition after my Dolphin in 1966. Everything I ever flew was my own design. So I don't know. It's like you get into habits and everything like that. Somewhere along the way, it's like putting on an old pair of shoes or something like that. You just get comfortable with a certain style of design and stuff like that. So
I like how it flies.
yeah, well, it's kind of ironic. The full-size Fuga Magister is a high aspect ratio airplane, and that wasn't part of my airplane. It wasn't part of my thinking back then or anything like that. But I've always had it in my mind to do another one with a wing out of the orange grade, actually, because it's the right shape. And it still wouldn't be a high enough aspect ratio to match full scale, but it would be a lot higher, and it would really be spot on as far as the look and everything like that. So, in fact, I'll see. I'm going to go away for a minute here again. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of that airplane and pull it up, just because anybody's curious. So, let me go look for that.
Alrighty.
Let's see.
So, Mike, did you fly your new?
Yeah.
Well, the newer SV22 with the 61 on it?
I did. I don't want to talk about it
Why is that?
because it didn't work out.
Didn't run good or what?
No, I didn't wreck it or anything. I think I forgot to snug up the bolts on the header, man, and the damn pipe fell off like 4 minutes into the flight.
Oh crap!
That's nothing.
Yeah. It was going pretty good till then though. It was flying good, motor was running fine, and I was at the field. I had 2 other airplanes I was testing out too, so I just put it in the truck because it ran another 2.5 minutes with the pipe disconnected, so it filled up the fuselage full of oil and shit. And I didn't want to deal there at the field, so I just cleaned it up as best I could there and threw it in the truck and brought it home.
It didn't catch on the ground?
Huh?
It didn't catch on the ground?
No, the pipe stayed in the pipe tunnel. I mean, the pipe and header stayed in the air.
I seen a video one time of John DeTavio, and he had his Rojet. Well, that takes a 540 bolt on the for the exhaust instead of 440. Let's put 440 in it, and you can get them in there. Well, that came loose and came off in the flight, but he had an open pipe tunnel, and the whole thing dropped down. And when he lands it, it hooks on the pavement. Cartwheels is there, didn't break it, but it's like, wow, if that had been on grass, it'd have been all over.
Yeah. No. So I did fly it. I got it sorted out though. I fixed it. I'm gonna try to get it out again this weekend if I can. I flew the half A bot
Yeah.
for the Prodac stunt event. That went pretty well. I got the AME, the 049 AME on there on a bladder. It was flying probably 4.5, 4.6 second laps on 42 foot lines, but I didn't get to stunt it because it was pretty tip high. So I was afraid to take it over inverted, and my handle spacing was off too. I got to go narrower on the handle, and it either needs tip weight or I got a wing warp because it was tip high, but I never got to flip it over to see which way it was the other way. So I'm going to throw some tip weight on it, narrow the handle spacing, short tank it again. And but I think it's going to be very capable for the half A stunt event. I think it's going to work out well. The lap time was good. It had plenty of power
for a half A.
Yeah.
You're not down in the 4.0s.
No, it's got plenty of motor. I'm just concerned if it's going to have enough power to get through all the maneuvers. So, but that worked out okay. I was happy with that so far. And then I flew Sam's stunt bot that smacked at the Nats last year. I got that repaired, put that out and test flew it. Dennis, did you see my half A? Have you been watching any of these, Dennis, over the last couple of weeks?
I'm sorry again. I didn't hear that.
Look at that 21-year-old Dennis there.
Wow. Hey, a handsome kid.
I was 18 years old.
18?
18. Good looking dude, huh?
Oh, you won the Walker Cup at 18?
Yep.
Oh, I thought you were 21.
No. That was the first year they changed the senior age group. Used to be up to 21. They changed it to 18. So it was my last year in senior.
Oh, no kidding.
And well, it's 18 now, but that was first year they did it. So yeah, that's the register.
You put a ton of work in that.
Well, I can tell you that canopy right there is got, that there was 2 complete cockpits. The canopy was custom formed, of course. It's 14.5 inches long. The airplane, the jet pods and everything, a lot of extra stuff. That was back when you used to get points for that kind of stuff, realism and originality. And there it was.
Wow.
That's a nice piece of work. I like that.
What engine did you have in that?
That was a OS-35.
Wow.
All right, here's the numbers. This will make you guys shake and quake here. That was 630 squares, 56 ounces, and an OS-35.
Holy cow.
Yeah, people say no way, no way. Well, hell, we didn't know any better then, and it worked just fine. So that airplane flew extremely easy. It was like I did a pattern on a test flight, and it was like instantly dialed in. Me and the airplane were on the same wavelength, literally from the first flight.
Wow.
So, very
Wow.
very nice airplane to fly. So.
How many times do you get one that flies right off the table? That's great.
Well, that's it, and it's like it's always even the ones that have some that and eventually fly good and stuff, but there's always like if you will, you grow used to each other and stuff like that. And this one was like as soon as I took it off, it was like we were in tune. So
Hey, Dennis, have you seen my half A for Brodax?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
This is my half A entry for Brodax for half A stunt.
No, my half A's are electric. So, and no, I'm not going to do anything. Not going to be getting any new engines or anything like that to do it.
No,
I'm gonna go watch Mike and and his what? Are you flying a Cylon, Mike? Or what are you going to be flying?
No, I'm flying this. That's what I was trying to tell you. I built this for the half A event at Brodax.
Mm-hmm.
This is based on the stunt bot that my buddy designed, the full size version that Sam flew at the NASCAR last year. It's just a smaller version of that. But this says it's got a 48-inch wingspan.
Wow.
Very narrow, but it only weighs 13 ounces.
Yeah.
And I've got a Norville AME on the front, running on a bladder.
Uh-huh.
So I think it's going to be pretty competitive. I think it's going to fly good because it's got a lot of wing air.
Well, I'm figuring that you're going to be the guy to beat there because because of the power plants you're using, because of the fact that you're a darn good flyer, and everything like that. I mean, you're going to have a good airplane, good power, and you're a good flyer. That's a heck of a combination to go up against. So.
Well, I'm not the only guy running a bladder, though. I think there's quite a few guys that are smart enough to know the bladder's the way to go, man, for the engine run for half A,
Yeah.
We yacked about it so much in here that they might not be flying bladders if they hadn't heard us talking about how great it is.
Yeah, we kind of blabbed early on. We were running our mouths a little bit about it. So I don't know if that changed anybody's mind about going.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Ryan just joined us. I just let Tryon in a minute ago, and Chris Hornady joined us, but he dropped back out before I could mention him. So, hey, Tryon, how you doing tonight?
Well, you know what?
Good, I'm here.
I was going to say, Dennis, it's kind of crazy is that it's going to be about the same wing area and everything as that airplane you just showed. And shooting for about the same weight.
Yep. And you're going to have a lot more power in it. So.
Dennis, I love the V-tail on your on that plane.
Yeah, I like that too. It's hard to believe that it works well like that, but it does.
I bet it was very stable in a horizontal flight.
It flew very well. I mean, it did all the right things and everything like that. I guess if I was going to put a blanket on the whole thing, it's like, how many times you hear it all the time. You hear, you're talking to an expert flyer or something like that, and you always hear words like, well, you got to do it this way and you got to do it that way. And you take a look, I've been involved in stunts since with the early 60s, and there were a lot of original things happening and stuff. The one thing that's certain is you don't gotta do anything. You got to use your imagination. You got to use your hard work and things like that. But, we're looking at new and exciting things. There's different shapes. The thing that Steve was showing with the, the sub fin and all that, that's, it's a different look and everything. And is that Dorian? I'm sorry, I know I'm mispronouncing. You're flying the molded airplanes and everything like that. I mean, there's just a lot of different things that we can be doing. We ought to be doing that. It makes this thing more exciting, more fun to do. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you look in a glider community, as soon as they entered with the composite planes, they instantly made everything else obsolete.
That's exactly right. And I was flying gliders, and it was amazing the first time I heard a molded airplane come by. And when I say hear it, what you could hear is that you couldn't hear it. There was so little noise. You have no idea how much of a wake you get with wooden surfaces and thick trailing edges and stuff like that. It's just draggy and noisy and everything like that. And the glass slippers were just literally that. They just slipped. They would literally slip through the air. They were strong. They were incredible. They were great in light air. They were great in the wind and everything like that. And I don't know. I think if I was going to be looking anywhere, I would be looking to the sailplane people at Efficient Design and stuff like that, and seeing how many of those things we could put to use. How many of their tricks we can steal, if you will. So.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did because I spent a lot of time in a glider community building discus launch gliders, and I learned a lot from over there. The techniques on how to mold, how to make molds, how to design for molding capabilities and stuff like that. I spent a few years. I mean, I'm talking almost 10 years at least over there.
Yeah, and in the discus launch, even better because they're doing all of the things you talk about, but they're also have to do it light.
Oh yeah,
and everything like that. And so that's something that gets lost in the translation. I think on the molded airplanes a lot of times is that they're strong, but they can be awfully light too when they're properly done. So.
Yes. Yeah, I was looking in even in our community. I mean, if you want just simply to make a stronger plane and you want to make a stronger spar, all you have to do is just spend about $15 on this unidirectional from Easy Composites, like 100 grams per square inch, and you cut strips out of it, and you sandwich that in between your sheeting and your upper or lower spar, and you get the equivalent of a if it's like 1/4 inch wide, you get the equivalent strength of a spar that's 1/4 inch by 2 inch tall.
Yeah, that's a pretty good payoff, isn't it?
Yeah, and weight wise is nothing. Yeah, so I can see that application instantly. Just that could be applied. Same thing you can do in a fuselage, for example. If you have the stringers on a fuselage and you have sheeting on top of that, if you put a strip of carbon in between them, when you do that, you don't add any weight, but the strength is just skyrocketing. And but it has to be used correctly, because I've seen I was watching in the Stunthangar, and I was watching to see what other people are doing with composites, and then while looking at it, I was like, oh my god, it's just way overkill,
Well, they're overkill. They're the thing that I notice is that a lot of people are trying to they're using the composites, but they still look like wooden airplanes. They're still flat-sided and stuff like that. And if you put a little bit of curvature in the sides and stuff, something that's not necessarily easy to do with wood, but if you're going to mold the airplane, you make the mold with curved sides instead of flat sides. It gets immensely stronger. You might get a kick out of this. My brother, one of my brothers, oldest brother, was making RC pylon racers, fiberglass fuselages, no carbon or anything like that.
Yes.
And he actually made the pylon racer he was making. The prototype had a fabric covered fuselage, so it had stringers in it. And he actually went through in his mold and his fuselage, and he put stringer brakes, if you will, around the fuselage. Well, every one of those brakes, and he did lay some unidirectional, and it just a few strands, if you will, in there. He had a fuselage he could beat you to death with, and it didn't weigh anything, but those little ridges and stuff like that added a tremendous amount of strength to it.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of ideas like that that when we finally make the transition into composite structures and really get good at them, that's what they're going to be looking like.
But
Yeah,
the other
something like that.
thing too is with that, I think it'll make it fly in wind a lot better. You don't
Well,
have something flat with the wind blowing on it. If it's rounded, it'll move around it. It just doesn't hit it.
Mhm.
well,
Yeah,
Steve,
there's something to that the air sees a different surface if it's smooth and in 3 dimensions and not just not 2 dimensions.
but
Uh,
but ultimately, Steve, think about this. The plane only sees the cross-sectional area. The shape doesn't really matter a whole lot. And another thing is that it's wherever you distribute your center of pressure, the side center pressure. So if you take a cardboard of your side view of your plane, where is that center? If you move it back, think of what happens into the wind. The harder the wind blow, the more it wants to tip your nose inside the circle. So it loosens up that extra tension. They want to pull you and drag you after the plane, as the center pressure will be right on the CG. Because if the center pressure is right on the CG, all the side area that pushes away from you, it pulls you real hard. Now, if you shift that backwards, because the center pressure behind the CG, it wants to rotate the plane into the circle, and that way it kind of balances out. What I what I found out is that in my plane, when I fly in a wind, I don't have an excessive pull on it, simply because of that. My center pressure is behind the CG, but it's aligned with the level with the wing. I mean, it's probably 1/16 of an inch above the wing center line,
mm-hmm.
and that's the way it was made.
Yeah.
And I flew it in the wind, and it doesn't pull hard, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't care. Another thing happens in a wing, when you fly in a wind, if you have a big fat airfoil, right? And everybody say big fat airfoil, right? And when you fly in a wind, uh, let's say on a vertical eight, especially on a high, vertical eights or something like that. When you come in a vertical eight, you come here overhead, right? And the wind is just pushing you from behind. It's just you gain a lot of speed. And now as you come into the wind on this side, as you come into the wind, the airfoil, and it's so draggy or something like that, it slows down so much over there on the side that as you have a tough time controlling it and come back overhead to go on the other side. So now you are being slingshot again because of the big thick airfoil. So you have this variation from high to low speed on the overheads, which makes your life a lot more difficult than it should be. Now, if you run a thinner airfoil, it doesn't really care. It cuts through the wind. It's a lot more even everywhere. So if I was to pick between a light, thin airfoil plane versus a heavy, thick airfoil plane, I think a light, thin airfoil plane will always have the edge in a wind.
I agree with you. I think the trouble we get ourselves into is we try an airfoil, or we're flying an airplane, say it has a sharp airfoil and it's fairly thin, and we use the leading edge. And of course, it flies better than a sharp leading edge. Well, gee, if the little bluntness is good, I'm going to add more bluntness. All right, and more bluntness and more bluntness, and then.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make it instead of 15% thick, it's going to be 17 or 20 or 24%. And it's like it's a miracle to me that we're not flying airfoils that are full circles right now, because that would be the bluntest thickest thing that you could possibly
Yeah,
have. And it's like what we have to realize is that this isn't always more is better. You reach a certain point, you get kind of a nominal is best. You want the leading edge, blunt enough that the airflow doesn't separate over it. You need enough thickness there to have enough curvature to generate enough lift, to do your maneuvers. But any more than that is a waste.
Yeah.
And it goes back down. I think your description was spot on. It's It's a question of frontal area, cross-sectional area. It's a question of how much lift do you really need, how much are you using,
Mm-hmm.
and any more than that is, you're going to pay for it somewhere. You're going to pay for it by needing more power. You're going to pay for it in speed, unequal speeds, and inability to fly in the wind, upwind, downwind, and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that I am not a fan of a lot of modern designs. I'll let it go at that. And my own design thinking is different. I'm thinking wings and I won't say sharper airfoil. I'll say less blunt airfoil.
Yeah.
I'll say sharp airfoil.
I think okay. What else? I want to say something. I just forgot about. Oh yeah, about the thickness of the airfoil. I think the airfoil should be thick enough so the plane on a downline is not going to speed up. Okay, so or it doesn't have a tendency to speed up. Like for example, you take a glider, you put a nose in. I mean, it just goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's so slippery. But also, if you look at a glider with a thin airfoil, have you ever seen them pylon racing? When they have those two imaginary 100 meters wide posts, and they just race it around, and how tight they turn.
Knife edge around and turn with the elevator.
Yeah, and they are unbelievable. How much? I mean, if you think a thick airfoil is going to give you more lift, just look at that. I mean, those things are so thin in the airfoil, and they're so efficient. They maintain the energy, and they turn so tight, and think about it. Okay, if the plane is not speeding on a downline with a thin airfoil, what does it mean? When you pull a corner and you lose the energy, you're going to regain it instantly because you can plow through the air. It doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you have a big fat airfoil on the opposite, then when you pull the corner and you slow down, it doesn't want to just accelerate back to the next corner. And this is one thing that I've noticed on when I'm flying my plane. It's like it doesn't really care. I cannot hit it hard enough.
Hey, Mike,
I can't hit it hard enough in those hard corners to actually stall it or even slow it down. So it gives me trouble. It doesn't do that at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's and even then, you talk about the downlines and everything like that. Our dives are really short. You're doing a square loop at 45 degrees. How much time does the airplane spend diving? Almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And same how much timing and stuff like that. So I've not been a big fan, frankly, of the work that they're doing with active timers and stuff. I think the people who are doing it certainly have been successful, but they're treating problems that I don't have. I don't know how else to put it. And all I can say is that the airplanes I'm flying are different than the airplanes they're flying. And my airplanes don't need that. So I don't know how to say that. How else to put that.
Yeah.
A lot of people spending a lot of time without the throttles and people say, well, yeah, I can feel it speed up and everything like that. Well, if that was a glow engine, and if you were doing square corners and you felt the engine speeding up, you'd start saying, well, gee, I need an extra head gasket or something like that, And it's so I guess I'm not really sure where the payoff is in that. I know with my my little yellow I-beamer, I can be flying on. I've flown that thing on a day that was like perfect stunt heaven and everything like that. And even that little breeze, I'll start doing a loop, and I can hear the motor power. The governor. I can hear it basically powering down, even in the light wind conditions and stuff like that. It's like the last thing in the world I would want to do is add 100 RPM to that situation because it's already slowing down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but now we are talking about the placement of the maneuver during the windy situation, because some people place the maneuvers opposite, like what you do the horizontal eights, right? They may put the inside loose because they say if I come into the wind, if I put it on a left side, when I
Yeah.
do my inside loops, when I come into the wind, it slows down. No, I say no. You do it the opposite. You do it on the opposite side because as you climb, you have nice line tension. As you come on the top, you have a lot of drag because now you're trying to plow through the wind, which slows you down. And now you are comfortable as you come down without much whipping and look at people that do the inside maneuvers on the left side. They whip up, they get faster and faster and faster, right? But when you do a horizontal 8, it kind of flows and it's kind of even. It doesn't really whip up, does it?
Well, what I've noticed since I started flying electric, when I was flying glow airplanes, I always flew to the left, on the inside, fly to the right on the outsides and everything like that.
Yeah.
And since I started flying electric, I stopped moving around in the wind. I fly everything straight downwind. And I think I'm probably seeing what you just described for that reason. So, but yeah, and you're right. On the regular horizontal 8, you're basically doing it backwards from the old way, setting to the left, setting to the right, and so it is different. But then you get kind of a swoop through the bottom on the inside, and you're coming around the inside loop, you're climbing up into the wind, and then you come back through, and you're swooping through into the intersection and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that's a good comparison there or not. I do know that I'm starting to fly more and more of my stuff straight downwind, and I like it better and everything like that. So
Yeah.
My
Stephen and I
flying
went around.
buddy yesterday showed up with my flying buddy yesterday showed up with the fattest wing that I believe I've ever seen. I think it was a Jim Greenway, maybe a cut down design, but it was a time machine.
Yeah.
Y'all are familiar with that, but man, it had the fattest airfoil I've seen in a long time out there. It was a really windy day yesterday too, and but he was flying everything. So, well, he was flying in the wrong places. He did a reverse wing over starting at the leeward side and flew into the wind over the top. So glad he made it, but he wasn't trying to bias it. I like to try to bias it when I have time to think about it, to the left on insides and to the right on outside. But a lot of times I can't get my head that involved when I'm, haven't been practicing enough. But yesterday was my first practice in 2 years. I've been down with physical disability for 2 years now, and that was my first day flying stunts in a very long time. So
Awesome.
I got 3 weeks to see if I can get into contests for them. But I was a little off balance yesterday, but I flew the tank out and landed it. The wind was blowing so hard that I came around into the wind, dead stick, and the plane stopped and just sat still 4 feet off the ground until I backed up and pulled on the lens to whip it a little bit, and it flopped down. So I got an 11-point landing.
Any landing you can walk away from is a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, the best thing I did was my takeoff. I actually did a really nice takeoff. I'm not sure anything else was pretty, but this was just a test to see if I could still fly. My reverse wing over, my neck was bothering me, so I didn't want to strain it. So I only did about probably 80 degrees, 70 or 80 degrees high, but I managed to do a decent reverse wing over it. It was just half high. But I was glad. It was just nice to get back out there with my flying buddies. It's been so long since I've been able to do that. I was exhausted when I got through, but it was well worth the trip. And we're scheduled to hopefully go back out this coming Tuesday. He's a commercial airline pilot, so
we haven't had any decent weather for flying at all. Today was finally a little bit. I think it was probably warm enough, but we've just had a lot of wind and stuff. And haven't been able to get out yet.
Yeah, we had twisty, shifty winds yesterday. It changed, completely switched directions 3 times while I was in the air. But
Yeah, that's always makes it fun too.
Oh yeah.
Is this Huntersville?
Well, I was at my local flying club, Congaree, but I'm gearing up for the Huntersville contest first weekend in May.
Yeah.
That's almost 2 hours from where I live, so I don't go up there just for practice flying.
Do you is it surrounded by trees and stuff like that?
Huntersville is on one side, and my local flying field has got trees around it, but they're still about 300 or 400 yards away, so they don't affect it as much as Huntersville. But this was a day where it was just thermals all over the place. You could watch the buzzards and watch them hopping from thermal to thermal, and they'd rise fast when they got into one. So it was just one of those days.
Yeah. Well, in that case, if it's calm weather, you know exactly where the thermal is because the wind always blows towards it.
Yep.
So
the windsock was standing straight out all day yesterday. We had a prevailing wind, but in between, it would just at different parts of the field, it would just change directions instantly, and so it was confusing, kind of dangerous wind. But hey, I flew through it, did okay. I was unsteady to say the least, and I got a lot of muscles to build back up. I'm sore today, but for 2 years without flying, I'd say I did acceptably well. I'll call it a success for bringing the plane home in one piece.
Absolutely, I think that's a tremendous success, and consider this flying your physical therapy.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, because for all I've been through and gone through over the years, this hobby is what's kept me alive. It's kept me off the couch and physically fit enough to keep getting by. And so I got a lot of catching up to do right now, but I'll get there and keep trying. And if I'm not fit for competition by the first of the month, I'll judge or spectate or something. But at least I'm back out there with my buddies, and that's what I like the best.
Even if you just walk over there on the field, you're still fine.
Question: a high aspect wing that's thinner, and through the wing, it's not as thick. A low aspect is a thicker wing. Is that how that works?
No, aspect ratio has to do with the top view of the wing. If you measure the overall length of the wing versus the chord, average chord, if you divide the two of them, it's going to give you the aspect ratio. What you're talking, and the other way, if you look at the percent thickness of the airfoil, it's how long versus how thick is the airfoil.
So you call a high aspect ratio wing, generally you're referring to a long, slender wing?
Yes.
Or a short, fat wing? Okay. A long, slender wing.
Like extreme cases, sailplanes and stuff like that are very high aspect ratio, very long span, narrow chord. And the other extreme would be, a lot of our combat models and stuff like that are low aspect ratio. But I think that's, as much as anything, that's structure, for structure as much as anything else. It's easier to build a short wing strong than it is to build a long wing strong. Unless, of course, you're using composites and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Then you can make them whatever you like. No, seriously, you need to see a 6% thick airfoil on a 120-inch sailplane on a winch, climbing up on a winch line at like 90 to 100 miles an hour, and you don't know how in the world the wings stay attached, but they do, and they take that because they're all composite spars, composite skins, and everything like that.
And actually, no, it's Dennis. It's just the spar. It's just the spar, Dennis, because the skin doesn't add. The skin only adds a little bit of torsional rigidity, but the spar takes all the load.
Yeah, but the torsional rigidity is what keeps that thin wing from fluttering and stuff like that. So
yes.
I was at the sailplane nationals one year, and there was a guy there who was flying a sailplane on a winch, and it was a wooden airplane, but he had built up the spar with a lot of carbon and stuff like that. Well, he got on the winch, and the winches are real strong. He stepped on it, and you hear this explosion, and you see this flutter of wood coming down. And honest to God, the wing
Or
spar
still there.
ship was completely intact, and all of the wood structure around it separated. All right, it was like pulling the spine out of a fish or something like that. But the spar, he could have cleaned it off, and he could have put it in a brand new wing. But I think that really speaks to what Doran talked about. The spar didn't fail. Everything around it failed. So
Yes, yes, that's what they do on a gliders. Usually, the skin, the outer skin, has the layer of fabric, whatever it is, fiberglass or carbon or whatever. They put it at bias plus minus 45 degrees, so it's not 0 90. It's like this, and the wing it's in this direction, right? So that's what gives you the torsional rigidity. It's the way you carbon is the strongest in a direction in which is laid.
I couldn't believe on this plane here by just embedding that carbon in that foam wing core, how much it stiffened it up.
yeah, I saw that. It looked like you had a piece going kind of diagonally.
Yeah,
Is
there's
that what you're talking about?
one that runs full length like a spar, and
Okay.
then diagonally to the tip.
Yeah.
So it won't bend this way, and you can't twist it at all.
Hmm.
So, and then we left off all that balsa wood. We basically probably over a third, not quite a half, but at least a third of the balsa wood off, and the glue and everything else. And
Yep.
I think that's one reason why that thing is so light. The wing is just light as can be.
Yeah.
And then with the front end that you made for the battery compartment, that weighed nothing. And I mean, good balsa in the back and stuff. And yeah, that airplane, 23 ounces. I mean, I was like, wow.
That's how much my plane weighs before I put the electronics in.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and that was the heavy one.
What, and yours came out to be what, 58? You said
58 with the 6S 2800 battery on board, and I can use a 5S, and that's with the heavier tail too, because the first tail we made was like over tail. I'm talking about the tail, the fuselage section starting with the bulkhead in front of the wing all the way to the back, and that was about 215 grams or so. The second one we made was 186.
Wow.
So that's a whole piece of fuselage, and we also have a heavy control system in a center, which we can lose another half an ounce over there. We can use another full ounce on the battery itself. The second plane we made was only 52 ounces.
Oh, okay.
That's with a 6S 2800 milliamps battery in it.
Everything. It's like, I'm hoping I can get it at 53.
Mm-hmm.
It sets with flaps, the whole control system, everything. 23 ounces. So then I got 6.6.5 ounces for the motor. The ESC weighs an ounce and a half, I think, and I added it all up. Landing gear, wheels. I didn't weigh a spinner, but I'm like, hopefully,
that's 2800 sounds like a lot of battery. Sounds like can you go smaller?
from a 6-cell 2800.
No, I'm sorry. The question was for Doran. If you got a 52 ounce airplane, 6S 2800, We had a Brodax Strega that we used to develop their big power system. That airplane weighed 80 ounces, and we used a 6S 2800 in that. And it was more battery than we needed, but we couldn't get the next size smaller, was too small.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
Because if you are running 6S, the smallest battery you will ever find is probably the 2800. And if you want any smaller than that, you have to combine a couple of batteries. And if you do that, you're gonna be overweight compared to if you want to patch up two batteries that are say 2000 milliamps to make two 3S batteries, 2000 milliamps to make the 6S. You're already over the weight of the 2800 milliamps.
What would you
So
you shouldn't use a 22 and that 6S 22 might be borderline now.
It doesn't exist.
It does.
Who makes it?
It's going to be custom made for Samantha.
Okay, what size is that again, Steve?
It's going to be custom made for Samantha.
All right.
Through Scorpion.
Uh-huh.
I talked to them today, and they said they can make up any battery size we want for control line. In the like 22s, 28s.
Right. And
you know,
you save a lot of weight, but that it's a big step. And if you can get probably a 24 or 25, would probably be a nice capacity. But
yes. I'm using about on the first flights we're using about 1400 milliamps to 1500 milliamps. There was a high usage. The most I ever used about 15.5, 1500 milliamps, 500, 15 point. That's all I'm using on a 6S. I mean, I don't even need the battery. That's why I was asking Steve to help me with that 4S battery to test, which I haven't tested yet.
Well,
okay. I don't know. You weren't in here earlier. Scorpion is going to sponsor Samantha. And we were talking to him today, and he's like, tell me what size batteries you need. That they make them right there at the factory. So he can make a 6L22. If people want them. I told him on her last airplane with that the Axie motor and stuff, I was using 80% of that 6L 2800 to fly Samantha's airplane.
Wow.
Did Scorpion give you a stencil to put their logo on your plane?
Yeah. They actually, I got to make a stencil out of them, but they gave me these.
Oh, that's cool.
Are you going to run the Scorpion motors too?
I don't. It's a different vendor.
Right.
Same company, but he's got the batteries. Something 8. I can't think of the name. They got the motors. They got Cobra and Scorpion. I can't think what they call that.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. But yeah, Scorpion Innovative Designs, Lucian Miller.
They
used to do Scorpions and Cobras, and they basically lost the Scorpion franchise to this other company. And that's why when you mentioned Scorpion batteries, that's why I was thinking maybe this other company took the Scorpion name and expanded it. Because I think when Lucian had it, he had Scorpion motors, and I think he had ESCs, but I don't recall any batteries.
It was really weird because, 5 years ago or so, Scorpion had one of these battery packs that you charge up and then you carry it with you. You can charge your phone off of it. I'm talking about. I can't. They're just another battery that you can plug in and charge.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And Scorpion made that, and I guess that was from what he was saying is they made the cells, but there wasn't really a battery named Scorpion. Whoever had this corporation or whatever, but now there's a battery called Scorpion. But like you said, all this stuff is made from the same factory, or same couple factories over there in China.
Well, look at Mike's plane. It's looking pretty good, isn't it?
Well, I didn't want to interrupt your Electron discussion there.
RC? You want to interrupt control line with RC?
Well, but it's icy anyway. Hey, man, it's Sam's second step RC plane, man. This is his first low wing aerobatic plane. This is our $25 swap meet special. I had all the other crap to make it go, so we're gonna go wreck it tomorrow, I think.
Hey,
Awesome.
that Astrohawks, they fly really well. They got a little dehedral in the wing, and
yeah,
but
he just soloed this trainer last week. He's been flying it for last fall and earlier this year, but last Saturday Sunday, I'm sorry, he did 20 takeoffs and 20 landings with the high wing trainer. So he's already bored with that. So
I tell you what,
get him. He'll enjoy this a lot more, I think. Anyway,
there ain't nothing harder to fly than a trainer.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean that's really the truth. There ain't nothing harder to fly than a trainer. Fly like a SIG cadet. Trainer.
Well, because they stay in a turn unless you give opposite aileron on them. Once you start banking something with a lot of dehedral, it just stays. You got to correct everything back.
Well, these other ones you will too. You got to remember what you did last, or you'll get them all. You'll get them screwed up in a big hurry.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be a dihedral wing will right itself, because the ones lower gets more lift and brings itself up, and they're supposed to. They fly like hell. We train people now. It's Easy Sport, which was a copy of the Tory. I don't know if you guys flew back in the days with the Taurus, which was around the Astrohog time, and then he took and made a mid wing. It's a top wing, but it sets down in the airplane a little bit, and with semi-symmetrical, and he called it the Tory. Well, now they call it the what did I just say? The Super Sport. Super Sport? Yeah, Super Sport. And we train everybody with that on RC. It's so much easier to fly than a trainer. I mean, I get out there with a trainer and have a hard time flying it. They just don't want to do what you want it to do. And you think it's you screwing up, and it's really the airplane. They don't fly well.
Yeah, I just wonder what this thing was assembled with, man, and how old it is. I really don't have the history on it. I'm a little worried. We start cranking on it, he's going to fold the wing up, or the rudder or elevator is going to come flying off it or something.
That's what the two types of airplanes, one that's crashed and ones that will.
I mean, it's pretty sturdy. Everything's still pretty tight on it. But, this thing's probably been sitting in some guy's basement for 15 years,
Probably made with Ambro or Sigma.
Yeah. No, there was epoxy in here. I definitely saw some epoxy.
Okay.
But, for 25, if it makes it through the day tomorrow,
It'd
if
be
he gets a half a dozen flights with it, it's all good. It was $25. I probably got 4 hours in the day just going through it, getting it ready to go. So if he can get a half a dozen, 10 flights out of it.
If he's not doing like a loop with a snap at the top or something like that, doing snap rolls, the wings they should hold up on there. That usually an old plane, when you start snapping it, is when stuff starts breaking. But
yeah,
normal flights, if there's epoxy on it, that epoxy ain't gonna go bad.
Yeah, I'm quitting control line, man. We're going all RC now, man.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We have been having fun with the RC, though. I do miss it.
I guess I'll show you this, but some people probably won't like it. But
I don't.
Because I go in and out of RC over the years, but now that Sam's doing it, I think we're going to do a lot more of it. Oh yeah,
Oh no, yeah, I really don't like it.
Get
One of
out of
them,
here with that crap.
one of them flying bugs.
How much did you pay for that thing, Steve?
$50
Uh,
with the 6-axis, the transmitter, and you can Wi-Fi it to your phone, fly it off your telephone.
nice.
It's pretty.
That would be nice to make like some cool videos, like for one Sam is flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already got guys out there. Oh, you're talking about that Sam. I get mixed up. There's two Sams. When we fly control line at the RC club, the drone guys they park right over the top of us and video us, especially if we're flying combat. If we're flying matches, they park that drone about 100 feet right over the top of the circle.
Yeah, this one here's got 6 buttons on the transmitter, and you can hit park. Fly it up where you want it.
Yep.
You got your phone on there. You can see what it's looking at. Hit park, and that son of a bitch will sit there the whole flight. Yep. Just hover right there. Hit home, and it'll come back to you. But for $50, a little racing copter, I'm like, holy shit! I can't believe it's that kind of money. And I like messing around. We got our ladybug, and hell, I don't know how many hundreds of flights I have here in the house, up and down the hallway, and doing
Hadn't
that.
busted the chandeliers yet.
Yeah, you know what? One thing with that ladybug, we've never broke a prop. I hit my pheasant one time that I got stuffed, crashing down, and I have never flew it into the ceiling fan.
Hey, Steve McBride just joined us. Hey, Steve.
Hey, man.
How's everyone?
We're good.
Mike, how we doing?
I'll tell you what, though, Mike. Once he flies that Astro Hog, you might as well sell that son of a bitch and trainer. He ain't gonna want to fly that trainer again.
No, I like the trainer, man, because we do trainer pylon races out there.
Oh no, shit.
You ever flown four trainers doing pylon? It's like combat, man. Yeah, we do club trainer pylon racing. It's got to be a 46. It's got to be a high wing trainer, 4-channel, and we fly 4 up and put 2 pylons on each side of the runway, and you all take off at the same time, and you got to fly like 15 laps. It's a lot of fun, man, to do it with trainers.
You know what you want to do on your trainer to make it go faster? If you have in the independent servos on the ailerons, put a little reflex on them. Bring them both up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yep.
My powered paragliding wing is a reflex wing. I can let the trimmers out on the back, and it lets the back part of the canopy up so you can fly faster.
Exactly. It's speed mode.
Yeah, speed mode. You got it.
Dennis is all smiling over there.
No, Steve, I'm serious. If you're still active in an RC club, recommend Trainer 46 pylon. Just because everybody's got a cadet or an eagle or something, a tower trainer. Get a bunch of guys together and go fly pylon race with them 4 up at a time. It's a hoot, man. It really, because I'll tell you what, you're trying to fly full throttle but stay low to the ground, so you got to hold a lot of down on it, man. It keep when you power on a high wing trainer, man, they just want to climb. So you're flying a lot of down and a lot of rudder, especially when you bank it in the turns, man. You're yanking that rudder over, and it's a hoot, man. The guys run into each other, you break stuff. It's a lot of fun.
You put some reflex in those wings, and you're probably gonna find out that you have none of that anymore.
Yeah, well, that's a good tip, Tryon. I'll try to remember to do that next time.
And you're going faster too because you clean up the airfoil, actually.
Yeah.
Hey, we just got a message from Gerald Wimmer down in New Zealand. He says, "Hi, Rusty, and all you guys been watching and listening while completing tasks around here, and Max has some cartoons he's drawn control line related, so that he wants to show those to us on Monday night." Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because Max is quite a good cartoonist, and he's got a great sense of humor too.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll get Dennis to come back too. Now you're retired now, aren't you, Dennis?
In fact, I am. I turned in all my papers and everything like that, so officially retired.
So you'll have more time, like on Friday nights and Monday nights, and
Congratulations.
I'm trying to be one of those retirees who can't imagine how he ever had time to do anything else. So lately, I've been going crazy with these electric conversions. I did two in January, 3 in February, 2 in March, and I'm working on my second one so far in April. So I'm doing a bunch of that.
what do you do? Draw them and then, or do
I design them.
send them
Yeah,
there?
Kodak laser cut the kit. They send me a kit. I build the airplane, write a manual, fix anything that was wrong with the design, and then we put it on board. So and then go on to the next. So yeah, that's it. So what I end up with is I have a basement full of airplanes where I've built the fuselage and probably in many cases the wing. And then that's because and that's where the electric conversion stops. Like it has a notch in the wing for the battery or something, and then I don't finish the airplane. It goes in the rafter someplace. So I have a whole basement full of half built or 2/3 built airplanes, and I'm running out of space. I'm gonna have to have some kind of big sales, if you will, Rodak, Nats, whatever, and see if I can create some space here.
Hey, did you ever convert the little Ellie to electric?
It's on the bench right now.
Oh, okay, because that's the one I want in electric.
Yeah, I think you get a kick out of it. It's a cute little airplane. It's a real bear to build.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Hey, Dennis, can you turn your camera down a little bit? There you go, right there. Yeah.
I was trying to stay out of the camera, Mike. I got a face that was made for radio. So
Believe me, we've had worse.
yeah,
on my phone, everybody's video picture is across the bottom of the screen. So if you're
I don't have a nice backdrop like you do with the Air Force and hanging behind you there and stuff like that. But
no, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably never. All right, I'm going to bore everyone again. You guys have all seen this, but Dennis hasn't seen the shot. That's Combat Alley up there, Dennis.
Yeah, of course. Combat Flyer, you're going to have a whole slew of them. All right.
I'm going to share you with all my. Let me present. Okay, everybody ought to be able to see it big now.
Those are all stunt planes.
Mm-hmm.
More combat stuff.
Oh, a jet?
Yeah, 3 jets.
Jets, yeah.
Yeah, 3 jets ready to go.
He ran one in his garage one night while we were on the show.
Oh boy.
Bi-slobs.
Yeah.
Little RC. That's the vintage combat rack over there. The Nemesis, the Voodoo, the Combat Cat, and one of Clayton's. And then there's more stunt ships up there.
Wow.
So, yeah, the jets, man. Dennis, let me show you. I'll get it down. Don't present anymore, Russ. Yeah, I'm going to show you the new jet that I built here recently. Are you familiar with Mike Hazel? Have you ever ran into him at the Nats?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay, so he's a West Coast guy at Oregon, I believe, and he just had an inventory reduction sale where he sold quite a bit of stuff, and he had a lot of jet stuff, and I bought some kits from him, and I've already built one of them that I'm going to be bringing to Brodex to test out this year.
All right.
I'll get it down.
I'm going to go refill my coffee. If anybody tries to join, tell them I'll be right back.
Dennis, you know what the worst thing is about retirement?
What?
You don't get a day off.
Good point. Good point.
I think he's gonna deal with the problem.
One problem at a time. So what can I say? All these big words, all this big talking here. I'm gonna have to start building. I'm gonna have to start making molds for composite airplanes here to keep up with Treon here.
Yeah.
So it is kind of funny. My brother and my nephew, they were big into molding pylon racers and things like that. They actually have a set of molds for a stunt plane, and they didn't like how it was turning out. And the molds are sitting there, the shells, if you will, but they never finished it. And it's been driving me crazy now for going on 10 years saying, my gosh, get something airborne. Oh, we're not sure it's right. I don't care. Get it airborne. We'll fix it.
Doesn't your brother have like a 5-axis?
Oh, geez, they got so many toys. Yeah, one brother has the 5-axis milling machine, and he and my other brother and my nephew all have 3D printers now, and they're printing stuff. My brother Dave makes all the motor mounts for Tom Morris's electric airplanes, profiles and full body. They all have 3D printed motor mounts in them, and I don't know. My nephew just worked on. He's got a contraprop drive that he just made, and he just wanted to see if he could make one.
Well, if you got, if you can get over there during the day or whatever and get on that 5-axis, you should be able to cut any kind of molds you want to mold an airplane.
Not in
Well,
a day.
that's about it.
Not in a day.
Do a 3D model, and you should be able to cut the mold pretty easily, or cut the buck, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. Make sure you do your homework before you even do the mold, because you need a way to align them. You need a way to close them. You might have some hardware that you want to put in there, a hinge. I was considering doing initially I was considering doing the flaps separate, and then join them to the wings, and in the end we end up doing it all in one shot. Yeah, do the flaps and the wing in one shot, and we do the same thing on the elevator, and it turned out to be lighter, easier, and a little bit less headaches.
Yeah.
And if you want to stay away from those like SV11 wing tips when you have a very sharp turn, right? Like this, very hard turn in the 3 dimension. Perhaps you probably want to do a thin wingtip anyways to have the best performance out of the plane. So if you do a thin wingtip, instead of going like this, you want to go like that, if it makes sense, right? So kind of taper it in. So then when you lay the material inside, kind of lays flattish. Anything with a sharp corner or something like that, pain in the ass. Ask me how I know.
Bet.
Hey, Dennis.
You only learn those the hard way. So yes, sir.
So this is one of the kits I got from Mike Hazel. This is the Tamigo trainer that I built here recently, Pulse Jet kit. Ready to go, ready for its maiden flight.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was pretty happy to get that. Now, do you ever remember meeting my dad in Detroit? Did you fly RC at NAM or?
We never really hung out with they flew. The Rouge Park control line area was down in the valley there.
Down in the hole, yep.
Yeah, and then the RC club was, they were up on the hill and stuff like that. We just never really got up there when we were flying.
Okay, well, my dad, we did fly a control line down there in the hole. Do you ever remember seeing anybody fly a pulse jet like this down there?
I remember the pulse jets. I have no idea which ones. Yeah.
Well, this one Dad built in the early 60s, and it would have been orange. I repainted it yellow in the 90s. But this plane was flown on the paved circle at Rouge Park from about 62 all the way through 85. Till my
Wow.
dad passed away, but it was orange at the time. This
Mhm.
is also a Mike Hoyt kit. It's called a Cat Jet. And Dad bought this at a contest at Rouge from Mike Hoyt out of the trunk of his car. Mike Hoyt used to come to the contest down there and sell stuff out of the trunk of his car, and Dad bought this from him. I
Mhm.
was also able to acquire a brand new Cat Jet kit from Mike Hazel here recently. So I
Mhm.
got a brand new kit of this in the box, unbuilt, which I
That's
thought was
awesome.
cool because Dad bought this one in 62, and now I've got an unmolested kit in there I can rebuild and
Mhm.
have another one. And the other thing, the other guys have heard me say this, but what I thought was neat was there's a good chance that this airplane and that kit were probably on Mike Hoyt's workbench at the same time when he was cutting kits. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Because he was a
Sure.
con-
I'm sure that is because he certainly wasn't making thousands of them,
No,
thousands of kits or anything like that.
no,
So
he wasn't. He wasn't at all. So this plane has been retired. I just use it as a test bed to run engines on because it's got a tank and a strap. I can, instead of putting it on a bench or something, I just throw it on this old plane. But the other airplane is going to get built. Well, I'm going to try to get the clone of this one built for this summer too, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get around to it or not. But
Mhm.
we'll be making noise at Brodax for sure.
Only at night. I want to see it too, right?
Well, and at the Nats too.
Right.
Nats is where I feel really a lot better flying at the Nats in the cage,
Yeah.
I just feel safer,
Sure.
I get pretty antsy about flying the jet there at Brodax because they don't have a cage, but I typically I'll fly it on a little bit thicker lines,
Mhm.
and triple check everything.
Yeah.
Here's a
To doing like Danny and Mike and build a stunt plane around the Dynajet. So
Oh, well, Dennis, there's something in the Skunk Works here that you haven't seen yet that I have not presented to anybody, but it's
I'll let
in
it
the
go at
works.
that. Yeah. Okay.
I'll give you a little taste, just a little taste, and it's not an airplane, but
All right.
but here's a molded elevator stamp whatever, from 1976, I think. This is
Okay.
fiberglass, and it's over foam.
Mhm.
But this thing is, but how they did that, but that's, you can see it's like two clamshells, and then they must have vacuum bagged it over foam because the tips are clear
Mm-hmm.
and the wings are done the same way.
Mhm.
Is that an
And
RC pattern plane or what is that?
yeah, it's an old RCT 2A or something they called it, but
Okay. Yeah.
it was, I don't know, the winningest plane at the Nats in 76. It took, I don't know, first through something or whatever.
76. Why isn't that thing built, man? What have you been doing it for the last 40 years?
I was gonna build it, but this damn thing's worth about $700
Oh man,
in
okay.
a kit. But if you build it, it's worth about 75.
Take it to the RC. The vintage pattern people. They'd probably fall all over that. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, people know I have it, and they're like, "You want to sell it?" and all this kind of stuff. But it's true though. If it's in the box, they'll give you $600 for it or whatever. But if I built it, I couldn't sell it at a swap meet for $75.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sell it before all the guys that want it are dead and gone, man. Get the money. Are you ever going to build it?
But
I'm serious, man.
it don't
Sell
owe
it
me.
while they're still interested.
I paid like $50 for it. It doesn't owe me anything.
Yeah,
That's like
I know.
my motorcycles and shit like that. They've been paid for forever. They owe me nothing.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what? Why don't you sell your motorcycle? Because I don't want to. You never ride it. I said, I don't have to because I own it. You know, I can do with it what I want. And it's like all my planes and engines, I want to sell them, I can. And I don't know. This thing is heavy. I probably should sell it because I could scratch build something now by flying control line that would be a lot lighter and probably fly a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, it's just, I mean, that's from 76. You know, the fuselage and everything was all vacuum molded and stuff like that. And the guy did one hell of a job, you know, with the stuff he did. I mean, formers are all in it and everything. So ain't the deal of stuffing urine back up in there and sanding on a former and, you know, in these old fiberglass kits. He did the same guy who he actually patented this and built this was the the glue there that
Look at it blowing the dust off it.
Hey, it's been a while. What can I say? But Steve's showing his. I thought I'd show mine. All right.
all right, I see yours, Dennis. I'll click on you.
All right. This is the, my God, it's even got spiders living inside of it. This is one of the first of the fuselages my brother and nephew were making.
Lower your camera.
Where are we at? There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Now we can see it.
Can't really see it. It's basic stunt plane fuselage. It does have a lot of roll in it and everything like that. It was going to be designed for a pipes type wing joining system.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a molded wing and tail that goes with it and everything like that. And they're having trouble with the wing and the tail and stuff. And I said, well, heck, just give me the fuselages. I'd like to use that and build some airplanes around it. I actually did start one.
Wow.
This one, they had an idea to just do it in color like that. Probably, you know, the test model, just fly it like that.
Sure.
If there were any stress risers or anything like that, they should pop. You know, you should be able to see like white lines for them and stuff like that. If you have any bad spots in the fuselage or anything like that. But and these were all epoxy and glass. There is no carbon in it, whatsoever. And all of the strength basically is in the shape of the fuselage. You know, again, it's rounded, a couple of layers up front, one layer in back. Mm-hmm. It is not joined in the middle. You know, like a lot of modern airplanes, they're basically joined here or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like Trian was mentioning earlier, this got controls in it and stuff like that, and it's like assembling a ship in a bottle. You know, trying to get the control system inside and reaching it, you know, here and there and whatever else. And so yeah, that part wasn't a lot of fun. But
how far is the canopy back on that?
Well, the canopy is going to be right there.
You got to hold it up a little bit, Dennis.
There you go. There's the canopies on this one. You know, the canopy was made out of carbon. It was it's basically going to be shown off just like that. And well, you can see the opening there is going to be the battery and the motor and all that was going in there.
JP asked if that's called the Gemini.
I'm sorry?
JP asks if that one is called the Gemini.
Gemini.
Funny you should mention that. My nephew had the airplane, the Gemini, published, and he's the one who designed this fuselage. So yeah, it's got a lot of the same stuff. It's not on purpose the same airplane as the Gemini, but it definitely has a lot of the same cues in it.
Oh.
Especially like the tail and stuff like that. You can really see that. Oops, there it is. But yeah, my nephew, Arch 3. All right. There's Big Art, and number one brother was Arch and Archie, and number two, or his number one son was also Arch. So we call him Arch 3.
Arch 3. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and he had an airplane called the Gemini. So whoever mentioned it, I didn't hear the name. Whoever mentioned that, yeah, they're definitely good eyes on that.
Yeah, that was JP or DC Connection.
Okay.
So
And
what?
while
That
I'm
would be,
talking, Chris Perkins, our United Kingdom connection, just checked in. He's watching us. Always know when it's starting to get late here because he gets out of. He's evidently an early riser over in England. Must be about 5 or 6 o'clock over there.
what that was going to be an all electric setup. So when was that all laid up? Like,
Well, this was actually there was going to be electric or gas. There's actually one of the other fuselages is set up with a Evo 36 in it actually.
okay. But I mean, recently with the advent of modern electric stunt. So in the last.
Oh yeah, well the fuselage, the orange fuselage there was laid up in 2008.
8. Okay. All right.
So
So
it's like 11. It's 11 years old, and it's got the wings sitting, in a box and everything like that. And I lost some interest in it because I didn't like the way it was turning out, and I pushed it aside. And I've been busy on other stuff, but I think I'm going to finish it this year and just see what it does. And
camera, we can only see the top of your head.
well, all right.
There you go.
There we go.
So you decided not to do the plug-in wings and just do plug-on wings, or?
Yeah, this is a plug-in wing. All right, and these were the spars that we're gonna capture it.
Yeah.
And it's a regular bolt-on tail, single fin, and everything like that. So, but again, all of it coming together, it seemed like it was coming together pretty well, but I didn't like the weight, for example, that it was coming out at, and stuff like that. And I wasn't real confident in my wing structure. It started with a foam core wing, and I don't think I did enough of the right things on it. So I'm not really sure how durable it's going to be.
Yeah, because it was first designed to have a tube in it, right?
Yeah. And I didn't want to do it. I decided I didn't want to do a tube. You've done some that way, and I thought I could do it better with a upper lower spar, and tied right in at the top of the spar caps and stuff like that. That's why I changed it out to what I was doing there with the upper and lower spar.
Yeah, because I was going to say with that, I know it has the canopy is pretty far forward. And back in the day when we were doing the plug-in wings with, the tube plug, that's why I call them plug-in, and plug is the other type with the square part sticking out. But we made the canopy removable. It had a little deal and you popped it. So you could get down in there and lock the wing in and all that kind of stuff. And I was always thinking about that for control line, to where if you had an adjustable flap ratio,
Yep.
that you pop that off and you could adjust how much flap you got to tail and all that.
Yeah, I guess the thinking here was that the canopy was going to be access to the to the power system, access to the battery and stuff like that. And frankly, Scarlett, what you just described, if it had been access for things like the wing attachment, the control system, it probably would have been better. If I was doing the same thing today, I think I would be more inclined to make it canopy back and design some kind of a side hatch system for the battery, which I've really come to like that. I'm using that on everything now. And holding the battery.
If your battery flies out with the side mount ones, you have catastrophic failure.
That's about it. I mean, it's about the only time the battery can fall out is when you're handling the airplane or carrying it to the circle or something like that. If it falls out in flight, you got trouble that goes well beyond your battery pack. So
yeah.
Hey Dennis, here's your teaser on the pulse jet propulsion system. This is the fuel tank for my pulse jet stunner.
I would never have guessed that you could run a pulse jet on a bladder. That's awesome.
You can. It's proven technology. The RC guys have been doing it for years. More specifically, Bruce Tharp from Bruce Tharp Engineering.
Yep. He's had a lot of jets in the magazine and stuff. I didn't know he was using bladders. My gosh.
Well, because you can, you got to run the 80-20 methanol nitro mix. And then he developed a system with a gentleman named Jim Klein. It's a PCFS valve, proportional control fuel shutoff is what they call it, or fuel system, PCFSF. I might have that wrong. But basically, it's the diaphragm from the carburetor on a weed whacker. So it's an on-demand system, and this goes on the very front of the pulse jet, because the issue with running a pulse jet on a bladder, you can get one started just like you can a combat plane by pinching the line, starting it, and letting it go. But if the engine quits, the fuel's just going to keep spraying.
Yeah.
So the PCSF valve stops the flow of fuel. It runs off a diaphragm, off a vacuum. So if the engine's running, it lets fuel go through. If the engine quits, the valve shuts and it cuts off the supply of fuel to the engine. So it's not spraying raw fuel on a hot Dynajet. So
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a happy combination.
no, it doesn't. But the RC pulse jet guys have been using that system for like over 15 years. A long time. That's
Wow.
how they're. The Europeans, the Brits, and the Germans fly a bunch of RC pulse jets, and that's the system they use. They use this half-inch latex, and this thing fills up. You can put 30 ounces of fuel in this thing, Dennis. I know it doesn't look that big, but this will hold 30 ounces of fuel by the time it blows up.
Mhm.
It's 4 inches in diameter and probably 9 inches long. It's
Wow.
huge. It's huge.
Whoa.
But all of this came right off of Bruce Tharp's website, and I've got the Klein valves from him. I've done testing. I've run my engines on bladders. You got to jet them properly. You got to change the jetting, from running them from other stuff. But with the Klein valve, it makes it possible to do this and locate the tank somewhere different than a big metal tank all in the nose. And
No,
the other thing that it does is
if you
it's on pressure, it doesn't matter the attitude of the engine or the airplane or anything else. Dynajets, they're cantankerous, and in a metal tank, Danny's got it figured out with his metal tank. He's got all kinds of baffles in there and all kinds of stuff, and a chicken hopper on the side, so that it'll go inverted and do stuff. But with this, it doesn't matter. There's not going to be any fuel feed issue because it's pressurized.
with a pressurized system like that on that Dynajet, if you could turn off the Dynajet in flight once everything was red hot and the fuel kept going, wouldn't that be like an afterburner? It hit that hot stuff and
Well, no, that's not quite how they work.
I'm thinking, boy, that thing flame out and you're just running fuel across that red hot pipe at the end, boy, you'd get one kind of a hell of an afterburner flame out of the back of that thing.
I
Yeah.
think catch on.
It's got to be pulsing. It's got to be pulsing to get that reed valve to work.
Right. It's got to be pulsing for the engine to run. But if you did not have a Klein valve on it and the engine quit, you'd just be spraying raw fuel, and it'd be like, holding an aerosol can with a Bic lighter, man, and that's what you'd end up with.
Yeah, but it'd be like an afterburner. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, I don't think it would be after burning. I think it would just.
I think that might be a little optimistic, Steve. But yeah. I think you got the burner part right. I'm not sure about the after, but.
But anyway, this is going to be the fuel tank, and I've tested this. I've hooked a bladder up to a pulse jet with like literally 10 feet of fuel line away from the airplane, the tank, started the engine, and I can swing this around in the air, and the engine just runs. It stays running. It doesn't matter because it's constant pressure.
Well, it would seem to me that, as cantankerous as Dynajets are, it would seem to me that you're taking away a failure mode with that, because you're not worrying about tanks and baffling and all that kind of goofy stuff.
That's the idea.
The fuel is under a constant pressure and everything like that. So
the big disadvantage to it though is I have to run the 80-20 nitro methanol, which does not get the same fuel economy as if you're running gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
They'll run not quite twice as long, but almost twice as long on gasoline as they will on the other fuel.
Okay.
They'll run equally well on both, but like this model here, this is set up to run gasoline. This only has about a 5.5 ounce tank in it, but it'll fly for, you know, almost 2 minutes. If I ran this plane on the 80-20 mix, it would fly for like 50 seconds, 55 seconds. But you can't run gasoline in a bladder because it's going to eat the bladder up. So, because Dan actually runs 80-20 and gasoline mixed together to get the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's not running straight gas and he's not running straight 80-20. He mixes the two 50-50, and he can do that because he's got a metal tank. So he needs the gasoline to stretch out the run to make it run long enough to make it worthwhile to fly.
You can't get a tube that will take gasoline?
A bladder tube? No. Petroleum products will just eat right through this. But methanol and nitromethane will not.
Oh, I thought maybe that somebody would have some kind of tubing that would take gasoline. But
I don't think so because it's latex. I mean,
yeah,
all the bladder stuff is some type of latex tubing, so it's, you know, rubber based.
Yeah. Well, what do you need for gasoline? Would neoprene do it for gasoline?
I don't
But
think
I'm not sure it would stretch enough. So.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, I'm not going to second guess Bruce Tharp, the guy who's been flying pulse jets on bladders for over 15, 20 years. You know, he came up with the system and the Klein valve and the whole deal, and he's successful with it in RC planes. The difference is I'm going to have to carry a lot of fuel.
Yeah.
A lot of fuel to get the same run because I can't stretch the run out with gasoline because I can't put it in this tank.
All right. Yeah, it was just too bad that you couldn't get some kind of tubing that would hold up to gasoline. That would solve that problem. You get a longer run with less fuel, less weight in a stunt plane.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's a circus act anyway, is what it is.
Well, don't listen to the electric guy here, but what would happen if you used that bladder and just filled it with air and then used that to pressurize a gasoline tank? Could you achieve, your constant pressure that way?
Well, you're actually onto something that has been tried and proven not to work.
It doesn't work. Okay.
Repetitively. That was one of the roads that Bruce went down in his early days, was trying to use gasoline in a pressurized tank to pressurize the tank. One of the early things they did was put it in a plastic bag. They put the fuel in a plastic bag inside of a bottle.
Right.
Pressurize the bottle to squeeze the fuel in. Yeah. But for whatever reason, through his testing, he gave up on all that. There's a whole web page called Jetzilla, which is a pulse jet page, and the info goes back to like the 90s on guys trying to get these things to run in RC planes and the different types of things. There was even a tank that had a piston in it that was pushed by by an electric motor or a servo or something, a piston type tank that but you need constant feed to the engine, and the pressure has to stay the same for the engine to run because Dynajets are cantankerous, and you can't have too much, you can't have too little. It has to be just the right amount. And the Klein valve with the bladder solved all that. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel on how to make the engine run.
No.
Bruce has already solved all of that. He's solved every bit of that.
Does he run Dynajets, or are they beyond that? I mean, he
runs Dynajet. His first Dynajet airplane. Actually, I saw it at Toledo, man, in like 19. Oh Christ, man! It was 94 or 95. He had an airplane called the Shockwave, and it was actually a twin pulse jet airplane, and it looked kind of like a pattern plane. And he had twin pulse jet. It was a profile pattern plane. He had twin pulse jets on the very back of the fuselage, and he had two 2 Dynajets on there that he was running
Okay.
off of one bladder. He would start one and get it warmed up, shut it off. Then he would start the other one to go, and then go back to the hot one and start it because they start better when they're hot.
Mm-hmm.
And he put 30 ounces of fuel in a bladder, and the nose of the airplane was big and bulbous because he uses a 1.5 liter Aquafina bottle, a water bottle, 1.5 liter water bottle is what he shoves this into and uses as a bladder compartment.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
pretty bulky.
Now, do you know what kind of pressure that bladder puts on the fuel?
Well, it doesn't matter because it's controlled by the Klein valve. I don't know exactly how much pounds per square inch or what the exact pressure is, but the Klein valve takes care of all that because, like I said, it's an on-demand system. When the engine starts, the Klein valve opens. When you hit it with the air, the engine will start, and then the Klein valve will cycle and allow fuel to come in. When the engine stops, if it stops for any reason, there's no suction being created, so the Klein valve closes and it stops the fuel flow. So you don't have to have any kind of shut off or anything like that on there.
Right. I understand that. What I was thinking is that when they try to pressurize, like with air, what you could do is you could use refrigerant. And that's a known pressure for temperature, 80 degrees outside. I can put it in as a liquid and let it go off as a gas, and it would be a constant pressure for the whole run over compressed air.
You could probably do that, but think about all the weight you're putting in an airplane. Like I said, that all these ideas have been already proven not worthwhile for the RC pulse jet guys. They're all running bladders. They're all running Klein valves. That's how they get them to run. That's what they do in the RC world. So I was just trying to take a little bit different approach than Danny's doing with this tank because I knew about Bruce and his work with bladders. So I'm going to try to approach it the bladder and just see what happens, just for fun. Like I said, it's a circus sideshow, man. It's not a real.
I was thinking to try how we'd get it to go over to gasoline, and if you could do like a bubbleless RC tank that has the bag in it, and like you said, it was hard for them to control the pressure because they're using air. But if you use refrigerant, it's a constant pressure.
Yeah, but how much does that refrigerant tank weigh? Where am I going to put that?
You could put it behind it. It probably, an ounce, 1 ounce weight would. I don't know what that expands to.
This weighs nothing and gives me all the pressure I need.
But if you could cut from 5 ounces from 16 ounces, how much weight would that save you?
Well, a bunch. Yeah.
Right. It could save you 11 ounces. So if you use gas and save 11, and the system would cost you 3 or 4, you'd still be you'd still save a lot of weight.
Yeah, but where do you put it? I'm building a profile airplane, man.
And a little tank.
The jet's going on top of the profile, on the top, just like a HE-111, okay, or like a V1 buzz bomb. The engine's going on the top of the profile, and then this is going to go in a compartment. I haven't quite figured out what the bladder compartment's going to be. I've got a couple of different cylinders and some other different tubes and things that I'm working with. And this is going to go somewhere on the CG, right on the CG. I don't want it all the way in the nose, and I don't want it behind. It's going to kind of hang like a bomb right on the CG, That's the idea.
Like on your other jet, your other sport jets there, why couldn't you have that in the center of the fuselage? You can make it look like a profile, but actually have that down the center of it, to where the bladder would go.
See you later.
All right, take it easy, Steve.
See you, Steve.
See you later.
You know what I'm saying? The bladder would be, because I like that sport jet you got, how the bladder can go right down the center of the fuselage like that.
Well, there's no bladder on my sport jet. There's a tank on that.
Oh,
I don't know. I think we're going back. You need a place to hide the bladder. I think we're going back to looking at 30% thick airfoils or something like that, right through the center of the wing there. So, like a pen bladder compartment. So
I thought about that. That was actually my original intent, Dennis, was to put it in a bladder compartment behind the spar, just like a combat plane. But I couldn't put it all outboard because that's too much fuel outboard. It wouldn't work.
right.
And I thought I could split the difference maybe and run it off a T, but I can't get two sides of a bladder to run this empty at the same time. They don't work that way. So that's out.
Here's your
this
solution.
right on the bottom of the fuselage on the CG, like a big bomb. It's going to look like it's a big external fuel tank or a big bomb hanging from the bottom of the fuselage somewhere on the CG of the wing.
Here's your solution. That's a pretty simple solution, okay?
Okay, I'm all ears, man.
You can put the control the bell crank anywhere you want to in the wing. You can shift it towards the back, right? And in front of the main spar, make a long tube, right, for your bladder. And what you do with your bladder, you put it in a long tube, kind of position it halfway so it kind of centers underneath the wing. And then you have the fill tube from one side kind of traveling through the wing back into the motor. So you don't have to have two independent ones. You have a single one, a single unit in a wing, center in a wing, inside the wing in a spar, around the leading edge somewhere, in a tube that you can build easily inside the leading edge. You can make a longer bladder if you want a smaller diameter, longer bladder, and it's not going to hurt anything. And that should solve all your problems right there.
Well, the problem is if I cross the center line of the fuselage, so here's the fuse, and if I make the bladder tube go across the fuselage,
okay,
a bladder empties from one end.
Okay.
It doesn't empty from both ends.
Okay.
So I'm going to, whatever end it starts emptying from, it's going to be the same weight this way, yaw-wise,
okay,
when it starts out. But if it starts emptying from here, all this is going to go, and now this side has all the fuel left in it. Okay, you see what I'm saying? That's what I thought I could do 2 bladders with a T, and try to get them to both empty at the same time, but I haven't been successful able to do that. Okay, that's the reason I got away from putting it in the wing along the spar.
But what I'm thinking is that
it's gonna hang on the CG down here and look like a big bomb.
Well, what I was saying is, if you built a fuselage that kind of looked like that with stunt wings on it, why couldn't you have the bladder down the center of the fuselage?
I'm going to show you right now. Give me a second, because I'm going to blow this bladder up, and I'm going to show you how big this thing is. Okay? You'll understand my conundrum here in 2 seconds. That's the bladder.
Yeah.
How?
It's probably 3.5, maybe 4 inches diameter.
Yeah.
And that's probably 9 inches long. Right there. Okay, so this has to go into a container to hold it. That's why I'm thinking it'll be in some kind of cylindrical container, suspended from the bottom of the fuselage, somewhere close to the CG. Okay? I mean, it's not going to look like, I can't hide this unless I built a giant, fuselage to hide this inside the fuse.
Yeah, it'd be really.
I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to go quick and dirty. I mean, it's going to be a profile foam wing deal. It's going to be actually one of Phil Cartier's Streak 2000s. That's what I'm using as the basis for this, man.
Oh, okay.
The jet's going to go on top, and this is going to go on the bottom. And it'll run. The motor will run.
Yeah.
and it'll be happy, and it won't care about head pressure. It's just a matter of I'm going to have to carry a lot of fuel to get. I'd like to get like a 3-minute flight out of it. Would be the ideal thing.
Sure.
I'm not trying to fly 7 minutes or
I
anything.
tell you, I was just thinking, if you made the profile kind of look like a P-51 Mustang,
Mm-hmm.
remember they had that big ass tank for they drop when they went long range with it,
Yeah.
and you could actually make it look like a drop tank under there.
Yeah. No, I've already got my my paint scheme figured out. What I think I'm going to try to do. Do y'all remember the movie The Great Race?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Lemmon
Yeah.
and Beretta, Peter Falk, or was it Peter Falk? Who was Beretta? Robert Blake? No, it was Peter Falk. It was Jack Lemmon and Peter Falk. You remember Professor Fate was the bad guy in The Great Race?
Yeah.
You don't remember the movie, do you? Tony
Yeah.
Curtis,
Yeah, I
Natalie
remember
Wood.
the bad guy in it.
That was Jack Lemmon and
Yeah.
Peter Falk. Yeah, so he was Professor Fate and all his crazy shit that he flew, and because he flew airplanes and rockets, and he did all kinds of stunts. It was always black with gold trim, and it had Fate written on it, Professor Fate. It had skull and crossbones all over it, and his car in the race was the Hannibal 88. So that's what this plane is going to look like. It's going to say Professor Fate. It's going to have the same trim and the colors as his wacky airplane, his rocket, the shark nose, the submarine they were in, and the torpedo that they shot. You guys got you got to see the movie, I guess, again.
I'd have to watch it again. Tony Curtis was in it.
Tony Curtis, Natalie Wood.
Yeah. I remember at the end he stops and Tony Curtis doesn't win the race or something and lets someone else win it or something. But I remember the end of the movie.
Yeah, Tony Curtis was the good guy, the guy in white. He was the awesome guy that couldn't do anything wrong. And Professor Fate was the evil guy that was always trying to, upstage him and do better stuff. And him and Max got into trouble all the time.
I haven't seen that movie since I was probably 12, 13 years old.
Go rent it. Go watch it. It's on Netflix. It's really cool, man.
This is called The Great Race, right?
Yeah, The Great Race.
Great Race.
The Great Race. They were flying a Curtiss biplane. They did this stunt where Professor Fate was in this harness with bat wings, and Max flew over the top in a Curtiss biplane and hooked onto him. And Fate's trying to fly. He's hooked up under the airplane, and they fly right through a barn and end up in a pigsty full of pig shit. And then another deal, they make a rocket-powered car on train wheels. It's on train tracks, and they light the fuse, and they go down this thing so fast that it takes off into the air, and they're like thousands of feet in the air, and then it crashes into where the pig shit is.
Yeah, that's right. They had The Great Race, and they had, what was it, Around the World in 80 Days?
No, those Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machines.
Oh, Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machines. That was another great movie, man.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. All from the same era. Yeah.
Yeah, they go uppity up, and they go downity down.
Yeah.
Men in Their Flying Machines. Yep. I was young when the movies were out. When we
How old are you, Steve? I'm younger than you, ain't
I? 60.
Yeah, okay. I'm 51. And I remember those. I mean, I was like, the movies, The Great Race, I think, came out in 67 or 68. I wasn't even born yet. But I remember seeing them in Detroit on the 4 o'clock movie all the time on ABC, WXYZ. They ran them on the 4 o'clock movie in Detroit in 75, 76.
Yeah. When I was like 16 or whatever, we got cable, and we got they had the Ghoul on there, and they had
He Just Died
movies, and we thought that was just fantastic because we had nothing like that on our side of the state.
The Ghoul just died 3 days ago.
Oh, did he?
The Ghoul just died?
Yeah, his name was God, I can't think of his last name now. Ron something was his name. He passed away 3 days ago, 3 or 4 days ago.
That was on what, Saturday nights, and I mean, when we got cable, we were like the first ones in the neighborhood. All the kids were in our basement watching The Ghoul and the movies that he played. I remember Phantasm. We always thought that was so cool with that thing that flew through the air and stuck in the guy's head and it drilled, made
Yeah.
something drill, and then it pumped all the blood out of his head.
Oh, gross.
Yeah,
I remember the commercials for that, but I never did see the whole movie.
Yeah, The Ghoul was so great, and like I said,
The Ghoul was a local Detroit guy that hosted Saturday and Sunday afternoon matinee horror movies. Is what he did.
yeah,
That's
So he
it.
was a
Scratching
local
glass and
Detroit
turning
guy.
blue.
You remember him, Dennis?
I do.
Yeah, him and Sir. The other one was Sir Ghastly Graves. He was like a vampire guy, and they were just local Detroit guys that hosted the weekend horror movies, and it was all old B horror movies from the
What
'60s
is
and
it
early
like?
'70s.
Hey,
That
Rusty,
real big
just when you can
Morgana.
lose control of this discussion here. So,
What was the girl? Remember the girl that dressed up kind of like a vampire in black?
That was Elvira, and she was out of Los Angeles, but she made it nationwide.
yeah.
Because we'd watch that on the Detroit station we got too, you know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I don't know, Dennis. You're a pretty good engineering guy, man. Maybe you could help me out with this jet thing, man, if you have any ideas.
Well, the only other thing I could think of is I'd be a little worried about your vertical CG with that emptying fuel below the wing and all that. And you might be able to get out of that with a drooping wing.
You just took the words out of my mind.
See, great minds think alike, right?
I would say, yeah, that's the
There's
very
a
next thing I would say anhedral in the wings.
on
Really?
Stunthangar, Mike. There's a thread. Ty Marcucci is building a F8 Crusader, Nostalgia 30. I think it's in that forum.
Yep.
And the airplane it was a high wing with anhedral, negative dihedral.
Yep.
And that would serve you well with your low fuel tank because the lead outs will come out. You could get the lead outs to come out basically on the center of the fuel tank,
Yes.
height wise.
Oh, okay. All right, I got
So
you.
you can fix you'd have no vertical CG, but you still have the jet over the top. So I'm not sure exactly how you'd work it all out. But I guess, if you got 30 fluid ounces of fuel hanging below the airplane, you're going to have a heck of a bank, a heck of a vertical CG change over the length of the flight. And I'm just wondering, you might be able to beat that back a little bit. You may not be able to completely override it, but you may be able to get it under control.
Well,
Dennis,
it doesn't necessarily have to be 30. I can go with 24 because on that mix, Dennis, on the 80-20 mix, it's roughly 8 ounces per minute is what it burns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can cut the fuel back. Like I said, it's a circus sideshow. It doesn't have to fly for 5 minutes. If it flies for 2.5, I don't necessarily have to put 30 ounces in it. That was just kind of my idea for because I base that off of what Bruce and the RC guys do. They run 30 ounces, so they can get like a 3.5 minute flight, close to 4 minutes.
Now, the only other way to do it is going to be to put that fuel tank like right smack in the middle of the fuselage and to have some kind of a wing carry-through structure where you have like basically a donut around the fuel tank with a stub coming off either side to carry the wing. And actually, you might be able to do that with the streak wings and stuff like that. But again, you could put a 4-inch diameter fuselage or something like that with the rings around it, and then the wings would start outside of that. You might have a chance of being able to hold all that together.
Dennis, but it's a relatively simple fix to that. Just put an airfoil on the elevator that was going to counteract the pulse jet, and that balances things out, and you can still kind of ignore it at that point if it's pulse jet, it's on above the wing or wherever it is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if the pulse is just like, if you're thinking like the fuselage with the fuel tank here, the wing here, the pulse jet on the top, if he wants to tend to nose in, then you put an elevator that pushes the tail down. So that's going to balance things out. As you gain speed, you know, as you gain speed, once you balance it out, you are neutral at that point.
Well, and the other reason I'm using the Streak 2000 is because that thing is it's 500 squares. It's 550 if you put the tips on it. It's a pretty thick home wing airfoil. So I was hoping that would, create some drag and keep the speed down. I'm not looking for a record breaker. I don't want it to go 100 miles an hour. I'd be happy if it went 80 miles an hour, or 75 would be even better. I don't want the thing to fly like a pulse jet speed model.
Oh,
I just want it to be noisy and big and able to control it,
I forgot. Put me up big on your screen.
I got you. Oh, I like that. How many of those do I got?
I got 3 of them, 3 gallons.
Okay.
It was, boy, everything really. I spent $420 on nitro and oil today. But if you bought it by the gallon, it was $10 a gallon. I mean, $10 a quart that way, $40 a gallon.
Okay.
If you got it by the quart, it was 14.
Yeah. Okay.
So
how many of those do I got? 1, 2?
I bought 3. I don't know how many you wanted. You said a case, and that's 10, but I couldn't do 10. I either had to do 8 or 12. So that'll be your pick. If you want 2 gallons, you get 8 quarts. If you want 3 gallons, then you get 12 quarts.
What is it? 40 a gallon?
Yeah.
I'll take 2 if you'll use the other one. But if you don't want it, I'll take all 3.
Well, Dick will take it, or somebody will.
Dick will take 1. All right. Yeah, I'll take 2.
And then the only thing, I got 4 gallons of nitro, but they raised the nitro from $30 to $45 a gallon.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, people will want it for different stuff, but what'd you say you paid $55 for it?
I was paying like 52. Yeah.
Yeah. So
nitro.
It must be that nitro really went up for some reason, because it jumped $15 in 1 year.
Yeah. I'm sitting on 3 gallons of nitro there. I don't think I told you to get me any nitro though, did I?
You said to get it, but it doesn't matter because I can sell it to whoever.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want you to be on the hook for it. If you need me to take it, I will.
No, I got no problem selling the nitro but he was saying that, I forget what the cans. He said the biggest increase was in the can, the metal cans. How much they cost? They were like $13 just for the can. Okay. Now, because everybody does plastic. Nobody makes metal cans anymore. Or nobody buys metal cans. So he said and you can't put nitro in plastic.
Hey, I want to ask the engineer guys again here before they all get out of here. So the other thing too, you got to imagine this is a profile stunt model. I'm going to have the engine all the way up here on the nose of the model.
Right.
Right. Just for balance, for weight, because the head of the engine is the heaviest part. So it's going to be all the way forward, and the tailpipe will probably be somewhere around the trailing edge of the wing. That won't matter for the rest of the fuse. But what are your? I don't want to have the engine all the way back on the fuse, because now I've got a bunch of tail weight. Now I'm going to be tail heavy. So the engine, the actual head of the engine, is going to be all the way up on the nose of this Streak 2000.
Will you be able to
think of that, Dennis?
Forward and back? Want you to actually balance it?
Well, it's going to need it. I mean, because the model is based, it's an IC engine on the front of a stunt model. Yeah. So it's designed to have weight up front.
Yeah.
It's designed to have, a 35 or a 46 up on the nose of the model. So the actual engine is going to be all the way up in the front of the model. And then just based on what the length of a Streak 2000 is, the nose and the wing, the tailpipe should be somewhere just behind the trailing edge of the model.
How much do you think that the nose of that weighs? Does it weigh 7 ounces?
You know, I don't know. I'd have to do the calculations
You know,
on it. I'd have to measure it.
7 to 8 ounces on a 46. Depending,
Yeah.
you know, he usually puts an LA on there, and they're 7 and a quarter, 7.5. So you know, that's what I'm saying is if it's heavier, you can move it, you can slide it back in that ring or move it forward to get your balance point.
Well, there's the tailpipe too, which carries weight
Yeah,
as it goes back. That's why I think the engine has to go as far forward as possible.
you may have to put it even further forward in the forward nose of the.
Well, I think it absolutely has to go all the way forward, as far forward as it can, because the farther back it goes, that's more nose weight that I'm going to have to add to get it to balance. And I don't want to have to add weight to the model.
Right. That's why I was wondering about sliding it. Once you get it, you can kind of figure out where it's got to go. You can move it forward or back and then mount it in place once you got the balance where you want it. And if you wanted a little bit more nose weight, you can move it just a teeny bit forward or move it a little bit back, you know, to adjust it for flying, you know, how well it flies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was just a thought because it's round and it seems like you could hook it to something to slide it forward, slide it back in a ring, you know, that gripped it. Just so that when you trim it out, it'd give you a little bit, then you're not adding more weight to it, you know. If it needs a little more tail weight, you'd have to add weight. If it needs nose weight, like you said, you're gonna have to add lead to it. Or if you could slide that somehow on that fuselage with rings, and then you could use that to help trim the airplane.
Well, the mounting brackets that I have for it. So Robert Bolton in New Zealand, who makes the Bolton T-34 sport jet, which I have a couple of his, and he has these type of mounts on there. So I'll get wherever these mounts go, I'll get that much adjustment forward and backwards on the motor. But that's really all I can do. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Steve's not even listening. He's talking to his daughter.
Yeah. Just trying to imagine the kind of layout you're going to have. If the jet, you know, the layout the way you just described, and the tailpipes around the trailing edge of the wing and stuff, how much trouble do you have with heat out of the tailpipe? I mean, are you going to have to put a really big separation?
No, I'll either skin it with some aluminum like this.
Yeah.
Or what we do on a lot of them, this is just real duct tape, aluminum.
The aluminum duct tape. Yeah, I know what you mean.
All this speed model has on it is just aluminum tape, and that's enough to keep it. Because you don't start them and leave them running on the ground. As soon as you start them, you get air moving over them and you go. You know, now granted, the tailpipe on this plane is here, but I bought some hot rod wrapping tape for hot rod exhaust for like dragsters, what they put their manifolds in and stuff. And I can always lay that on the top of the fuselage. And I was actually thinking of putting a little bit on each side of the fuselage on the wing itself, just to deflect some heat, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, check this out. Let me see.
Yeah, something like that, but without a canopy.
It's not no canopy. This is the fuel tank. Top is the fuel tank, and you can see the wing just having a dihedral into it. Motor on top, and you're just going right on a. It blows right on the elevator, kind of thing.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
I
you see
actually
that?
wasn't going to have a rudder, actually in line with the fuselage. I was just going to do some rudders on the tips of the horizontal stabilizer. I was going to leave that clean back there.
Okay, something like that, anyways.
Yeah.
So,
No,
so what?
But
Yeah.
that's the idea right there. Other than the engine far forward, but putting the tank on the bottom.
Yeah. But what he did there with the fuel tank in the middle with the dihedral and everything like that, that takes care of the vertical CG thing that we were mentioning
Yes.
before.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
the only other thing I'd worry about is how concerned are you with the bladder bursting? If it was next to the engine, or the way he laid that out, the bladder is obviously you can get some separation there, but how much separation do you think you'd need?
Well, that was why I wanted the engine on top and the bladder on the bottom.
Yeah.
So that if the bladder did bust, and of course the bladder compartment will have a drain hole in it on the bottom.
Yeah.
To get them as far apart from each other as I could.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least we're going through it. I know we ain't trying to mess with you, Mike, but it was just like trying to think all through all this stuff to, trim in and this and that. And
Oh, I know. I've been thinking about this for years, man, for a long time. Actually, before I ever even saw Dan's pulse jet stunner, I had visions of doing a stunt plane. After I saw Bruce Tharp running his stuff on a bladder, that's when I first had the ideas of trying to put one on a control line airplane like that.
oh, okay.
It's gonna be gangly. It ain't gonna be pretty. It's gonna be a test bed. All of it's gonna be a test bed. It really is. And
Yeah, I want to see it fly at the NASA this year. That's why.
and it's just it's a circus sideshow, man. I'm not.
Yeah, and you mentioned Bruce Stark. He had a nice article on his stuff. Cripe, got to be 15 years ago. A nice magazine article. He had a lot of deltas and stuff like that. And you're thinking along the lines of Phil's airplane, but what if instead you go really off the wall? You're going to have issues with the overall length and everything. What if you started with something like a Fierce Arrow flying wing, and it's got a fairly thick wing. You could still get the separation probably halfway into the wing. The fuel tank on the bottom, the jet on top. But the neat thing about it is that the overall length is short. You might be able to forego any issues with the behind the tailpipe that way. Am I making any sense with that?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Well, the Fierce Arrow is like a big half-fast,
Yeah.
but it would get a lot of wing
just-
area in a relatively small package and whatever, and they fly reasonably well. They're not great stunt planes, but they'll stunt. So I don't know.
Other than the time crunch that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously build and making. God, could you build a Fierce Arrow that would everything that it would take to mount a Dynajet to it? You're talking about a lot of changes in the kit just to make that happen.
Okay, have Phil cut you a set of foam wings that look like a Fierce Arrow.
Oh well, there you go.
And you between the two of you, you certainly know how to make flying wings and whale tail flying wings and stuff like that. You might be able to come up with a decent wing.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking I could even forego a rudder. I don't need a rudder. I mean, combat ships have proven that. Doesn't have to have a rudder. Just a little bit of offset in the engine will take care of that.
Yeah, you can work something out in your engine supports and stuff. You can generate side area and some kind of a tail post and stuff. But I agree with you. I wouldn't lose a lot of sleep on a rudder either. But
that's like your Nats winning airplane with the V-tail. There's really no rudder there. It's kind of
Actually, you do have a rudder.
Actually, it's a big rudder. So,
well, it's considered a double rudder.
Well, that's how the V-tail works. Because, if you look
basically,
from one direction, it's a rudder. From the other one, it's the elevator.
Yeah, you take the projected area in each view, and that's basically what the V-tail is supposed to accomplish.
Yeah.
So, so at any rate, but the neat thing about it is, the V-tail flies in clean air out from behind the wing and everything like that. So it's very effective.
Okay, looking at Trian's next attempt here. And is that an anhedral wing?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be ideal right there.
The only thing,
if I could kit bash that out of the Streak 2000, that would be awesome.
you are probably better off just starting from scratch and just make it something, wing it up.
Well, even the Streak 2000 has some kind of plywood joiner or something like that, doesn't it? A joiner spar. You just cut it with dihedral in it, or anhedral, depending which way you do it. I think you could get there from here.
Yeah. Well, these are great ideas for further down the road, but it's going to be a Streak 2000 with a pulse jet on top and a big bomb on the bottom is what's going to show up.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
That's what's going to happen, and it'll either be a total failure. It might work a little bit and be hairy to fly, or it could just work. It's a test bed. It's a circus act. It's a sideshow. So we'll just see what happens. But I won't. It won't show up at Brodax. I won't fly it there. I wouldn't maiden it there. It'll be maiden in the cage at Muncie. Is where it's going to be flown.
Well, guys, I gotta go. It's been a long day, and Samantha wants to fly in the morning, so
all right,
some sleep.
Same here, guys.
Hopefully, see you Monday.
Okay, Steve.
Tell Sammy I said hi. All right.
All right.
Came in from the movies, so.
All right, terrific.
For that, you said hi.
Right, we'll see you.
Yeah. Bye.
Good night, guys.
This way, at least if it's if it crashes and burns and hits the pavement, it'll all be contained in the cage.
Yeah.
At Muncie.
That's really not a bad plan at all. At least
No.
Figure out what you got to work with. So.
Well, if I was a little further along with it, my plan was to maiden it at Detroit. The third weekend in May is Combat in Detroit.
Oh, okay.
Colombo and the Breeze
Mm-hmm.
and Paul Smith and all them guys. They still have the spring contest and the September contest down there. And that could still happen. And I would do it at Detroit. I probably would fly to Detroit because it would just be like the four of us out there. They're old knuckleheads anyway, so there wouldn't be any big chance of anybody getting hurt or anything like that. Down there at that's a pretty isolated place over there. So maybe if I can get it together, I could maiden it there, but I don't think I would attempt to maiden it at Brodax. And the next best thing will be at Muncie in the cage.
Yeah, or you fly at Brodax. We're flying in the man's backyard, so I don't want to.
Exactly. And like I said, I'm not
you can fly it there when you know that it's going to work.
I know it's going to work. Exactly. You're right. It's 100%. I agree 100%.
Hey, no guts, no glory.
No, safety, man. There's safety. I didn't have any big issue flying my Bolton T-34 pulse jet there at Brodax because I flew that a bunch at Muncie and I flew it up in Detroit. And Robert Bolton is a pulse jet speed guy. He's in New Zealand. He's designed many, many different models, and it's a proven model safe design. So I don't feel so bad about flying that one there.
Oh, just kidding, man.
Although I do get nervous not flying in a cage, but that model was something I'm comfortable with, and it's proven. You know, it's
Yeah.
proven design and it's safe. Never
Yeah.
had issues with it.
Yeah. Again, I was just kidding. So good night, guys.
A lot on you too. This has been fun. I've enjoyed this, but
Right.
maybe we'll try it again next week. Rusty, thanks for hosting.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Enjoyed having you.
Hey,
All
thank
right,
you.
you guys take.
Dennis,
See you later.
Dennis, don't lose too much sleep thinking about this pulse jet thing, because I know your brain is swirling right now.
You see what I just finished off here.
Yeah, well, I'm with you.
Yeah,
It's a good night juice.
Dark Horse.
No, I said, is it good night juice?
Indeed. So
I sleep very well after those things. You know, just I fall
Indeed.
asleep so fast. It's not even funny.
all righty. Take care,
Thanks for
man.
joining us, Dennis.
Right.
See ya.
Good night. Yeah, I forgot all about mentioning Gary's calendar tonight. He was watching us. Just saying, he's got a grand total of 4 people who have sent him pictures now.
Rusty, I promise I will tomorrow afternoon. I don't have anybody to take a picture because my wife's been working every night till 10 o'clock at night. But
Yeah.
tomorrow afternoon, I will get Sam. I will get me. We will take a picture, and he will have it tomorrow night or Sunday morning.
Great. Great.
I will. I just have to have my wife to be able to take a picture. We'll
Yeah.
get some models out, like I said. We'll set up some models, and we'll take a nice photograph.
All right. Yeah, I feel bad about forgetting about that earlier. Should have mentioned it when everybody was on. But anyway, I guess we'll sign off and chill out a little bit.
Hasn't said shit all night, man.
Say what?
I said Charles hasn't said shit all night. Give him a chance to talk.
Not very much. Hey, but Rusty, I did send in a picture. So you know, your advertising last week did work for me. I did send in a picture.
Okay, great. You must be the number 4 because
Yeah.
last time I checked it was 3, and then he came up with 4. So yeah. We'll either get it or we won't. But anyway,
maybe send in multiple pictures. I can always send in some more.
I sent him about 3 of me. I hope he uses the Hyper Viper picture where I sent that in of me holding it in front of my shop. So I sent him a couple more of me and the Twister too, so he can put them wherever he wants to.
I sent him the picture you have in your screensaver.
Say what?
The one that of me flying at Brodax, the one you like, you have in your screensaver. That's the one I sent.
Oh, good. That's a good picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Tutor.
Yeah, the Tutor.
Yep. Okay, dudes. Well, y'all have a good weekend. I hope I can. Well, I won't go back out flying before Monday, but next week I'm hoping to go on Tuesday, so I'll have something else to talk about this time.
Congrats on flying, Rusty. That's awesome, man. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I just need to get to fly better now, but every little bit at a time helps. So
that's right.
Okay, dudes. Y'all have a good weekend, and fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see y'all later.
See y'all later.
All right, signing off.
Down for a minute.
I will.